Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у щах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страны.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Хто води всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
Байрактар. Байрактар.
Байрактар.
Байрактар.
Yes.
The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
О, бля! Игорь!
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 377 of the news, and it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 48 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine, and there is a lot to unpack, a massive load, and considering that the stream covers almost exclusively frontline information pertaining to the actual battles ongoing on the front lines that we find in the eastern part of Ukraine, sadly we aren't able to cover all of the news that happens around the world that pertains to Ukraine. But there is a way that you can always stay here on the Enforcer channel and make sure to get some of the other news that we can't report on stream. Some of that news, though, is reported on stream. Allow me to introduce y'all to the Twitter. Or as Matthew says, have you peeped the Twitter? And let me ask y'all, have y'all peeped the Twitter? Because this Twitter is absolutely bussin'. It's gotten
3,111 people have peeped the Twitter. What about that?
They have peeped it. And also, look at this. Margaret Hemsley showing up, who is also in the... Oh my god, thank you, Duncan. But moving
Thanks,
on...
Duncan.
Yeah, before we move on to that, I've got to thank everyone so much once again for following this Twitter, and make sure to continue to hop over there and follow it, because Enforcer Matt, while it's called the Enforcer, it is run by Enforcer Matt for the most part. I've responded to maybe like 2 or 3 people on there at some point, but make sure to go over here because Matthew's been getting some very interesting news, and even news that goes outside of I guess you could say the Ukraine war, like for example this little news bulletin about the Koreas and what's going on the peninsula. So make sure to go over there and click on the link in the description below.
Did you see that, Enforcer? What's next to our name now? Do you see that?
Oh yeah, the verified. We got verified, by the way. So now we've got all the bells and whistles. So make sure to go over there and help represent the Lee Spring Army on a brand new battlefield where we're going to hopefully expand and become a force to be reckoned with in the Twitter sphere. And I see a lot of, once again, we always have to combat this. I see a lot of people saying they are not going to join the Twitter because they don't like Twitter. Does it really matter about Twitter? Don't you have an allegiance to the Lee Spring Army and helping us to expand and continue to grow wherever we may be? Ask not what the Lee Spring Army can do for you. Ask what you can do for the Lee Spring Army. And everyone's saying turn on dark mode. I'm sorry, everyone. I cannot stand dark mode for some reason. But anyways, we're now going to be moving on from this Twitter, because make sure to join it. It's really something. And we're now going to be moving on into the actual news for the day. And of course, the title and the thumbnail talks about the heavy losses that have been occurring in Bakhmut. And so we'll be moving as fast as we can, actually. First covering the international news, and then covering the location unknowns, and then the Battle of Bakhmut directly. We'll be skipping over the Northeast and covering that after the Battle of Bakhmut. Get strapped in because we're going to be going as fast as we can to get to Bakhmut. But starting off with our first bit of international news, I found a very interesting Russian propaganda video today from, I guess, a fake, like, parody Department of Tourism for Europe or something like that they've made, that put out a video that was absolutely hilarious. So let's go to Riga in Latvia and let's see what's going on here. What is this? So, let me show you this clip, because you're going to get a laugh out of it.
Spend your holidays in Latvia, Lithuania, or Estonia. The country.
Now, I like how they got the guy off for $20 off Fiverr to do the voiceover. I gotta give him credit here. You can tell it's low budget, and also the stock footage of Baltic cities is also a nice touch.
Of Baltic supremacy. We're happy to welcome everybody, as long as they have the right skull shape, skin color, and passport.
Who the hell said you had to have those? The Russians are literally like pulling stuff out of their rear end now, like just trying to come up with crap. Like, you know, like the Russians got banned from pretty much traveling anywhere in Europe because of stuff they were doing in these countries, like harassing Ukrainian refugees, harassing citizens of these countries. And that's the reason why a lot of them can't travel here anymore. And so, while they were the aggressors in most of these countries, and that's what ended up getting them banned, now they're going to go and try, just like they are with the war, saying that they were the ones who got attacked by Ukraine. Now they're going to sit here and go, everyone in the world is fascist but us. And I was thinking this, Matthew, this is a little bit of a catch. If everyone in the world has banned you from traveling and visiting their country, maybe They're the Nazis. The Russians are the Nazis, not the people banning you from coming to their country. You know, because look at the Germans in the Second World War. I didn't see a lot of people allowing Nazis like, you know, the United States or Britain to just freely travel to their country.
I mean, the Russians do wear NASA shirts and make fun of the West, so I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
I wouldn't put it past them at all. And so we're going to let this continue on a little more.
Here in the Baltic region, you will discover our national traditions. Tallinn, Vilnius, Riga. Go for a walk and enjoy their unique atmosphere. The Russophobic atmosphere.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this. The Russophobic atmosphere. Like, you know, they just went over all of this, Matthew, a second ago. If you're the right color, skin shape, and so on, only then can you go to the Baltics. And then they immediately contradict that by pretty much saying anyone can be there except for Russians. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, this is the complete opposite of what they just laid out. But anyways, we're going to let it continue because Russian propaganda is world class in being the worst. Like, I think it is the worst if you ever look at any propaganda out there. So let's let it continue a little bit more.
Romantic evenings by the fire, carnivals and masquerades. Want to try something new? Why not give event tourism a try? Book now.
And I love this. They show this, you know, these giant Soviet monuments that were made right after these areas were liberated, usually in like the late 40s in the Second World War, while Stalin was committing atrocities against these people. They then set up monuments here, which are pretty much a way for the Russians and Russian culture to always have like a peering eye over wherever these people may live and whoever they may be, and try and make them remember we are the ones who are over you and in charge of you. So they started tearing down these monuments in the present day, and for the large part, this has been going on for decades, ever since the Soviet Union fell apart. And now they're going to act like this is an attack against them, when the monuments talked about all of the Russians who died to control these people for about the next few decades in the Cold War.
Book now with our special Nacional Tourism promo code and get a discount of €14.88. Visiting Europe is a privilege, not a human right.
When the hell is visiting anywhere a human right? Like, you know, the Russians sit there and go, no, bled, you cannot visit, you know, such and such place. And that's fine. You can't visit Chechnya, bled, it's a war. And meanwhile, if we ever sit there and go, dang, these people, like, they're coming around and instigating trouble over here in these countries and painting Z's and beating people in the streets whenever they show up, we might need to revoke their passports for the duration of this whole entire conflict. Then apparently traveling to Europe is a human right, but us traveling to Russia is a privilege still. Like, these people are full of crap, but I had to show that to y'all because that's some of the propaganda that's starting to try and circle around thanks to the Russians. And it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Just full of hypocrisy. And not only that, most of it's not even based in fact and trying to look at it from a victim perspective instead of what they've been doing to people, which has been outright aggressive. You know, because while they sit there and say, oh, look at these people, they hate the Russians inside of Russia, before the Baltic states at all even picked a side, we're going to steamroll the Baltics, we're going to take them back, and then they revoke their passports, and they go, oh, what's this? You know, like, it's just stupid. Anyways, we're now moving on from the only bit of international news we got today, which was that propaganda flick, which was lame as hell, and we're now going to be moving on into the location unknowns. And we've been having quite a number of them today. We had 5 of them today, 2 of them yesterday. So let's get into yesterday's, then move on into today. So starting off with our first bit, we actually saw a Russian Hornets get wiped out by a Ukrainian ATGM. So right here, we can see the Russian Hornets. It's right there. And it's hiding in the shadows of this wall. And we now see the Russians casually walking out like it's a hobbyist kind of activity. Oh, bled, Igor, it's time for us to go to Hornets and shoot it a little. Okay. And so they go walking out there to the Hornets, the entire time being watched by a drone. And why the hell are they walking so casually? You know, like, it's like, you could be seen, you could be spotted. They're just casually meandering their way to the Hornets. And now we can see the ATGM come in and take out the Hornets outright.
Jeez.
They never even got off a shot. Not a single one. And that thing came in like a freight train. That thing blew away that wall, the Hornets operators. And that's it for them. They'll never fire that Hornets again. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from that clip. Very impressive accuracy from the Ukrainian ATGM crew that is counter-sniping a Russian ATGM crew. And so with that, we're now moving on into our next clip where we saw a Zuzana pulling off a sick drift. And I'm not lying when I say this. This is a sick drift. And probably one of the most impressive I've seen on a vehicle of this size that looks so top-heavy. Somehow they drifted it. Most likely because of the Rasputisa. Sadly, I cannot play the music to go with it because it really fit well. But we can see the Zuzana racing towards this road, taking a hard right, and that thing comes drifting around the corner and right past him. Excellent drivership from that driver. That's certainly not Tony, because Tony would have flipped that thing in that turn. This guy was not only able to put it at full speed, almost, around this corner, he drifted the thing. Just look at that. That is wild looking, especially from a Zuzana.
Coming in hot.
Man, that guy said, put Tokyo Drift on. And he put that drift around the corner. But still, impressive to see, and really cool to know that those Zuzanas are still in operation with the Ukrainian armed forces, and hopefully conducting a decent bit of damage on Russian forces, although we haven't seen them in action a lot lately, and their numbers are few and far in between, especially compared to other artillery pieces that have been provided by the West. We're now going to be moving on out of yesterday's news and on into today's location unknown news, which we've also been seeing a very interesting amount of, and also some interesting things. Of course, starting off with something that isn't out of the ordinary, a typical bomblet run by a Ukrainian drone. Also, by the way, thank you, Der Spieler, for saying that. I, for some reason, never zoomed out enough to see Canada, because there is international news in Canada, so we're going to be getting to that right after this clip. So when you see a warning, and it says it contains scenes that viewers may find disturbing, I think we're okay. We can see the sheds here. When you see the Russian infantry bleed in the drone bomblet. Wow, what the hell? Was that a trick shot? Oh, no, it wasn't. When you see the Russians, they're like, oh crap, it's time for acrobatics. We now see another bomblet being dropped. For some reason, I don't understand why. You can see the crater right there from the last bomblet. Still smoking, as a matter of fact, Matthew. And the entire Russian squad goes, oh look, drone bomb dropped right here, let's just move right up where it fell. There, nothing can go wrong with that. So they drop another bomblet. Whole squad's hanging out there. They get hit again. The bomblet hit the exact same spot. Now we're moving on to another area. What the hell? Wait a minute. Did that thing make an ATGM fire? So the bomblet explodes. There's an ATGM right here. And right after the bomblet explodes, the ATGM fires and explodes at like point blank range. I can't tell if that was the bomblet that somehow triggered the ATGM to fire, or if the crew operator got wounded and then the aim was off for that ATGM. It fired and exploded right in front of them. But pretty wild to see. We can see some Russians down here in their dugouts. We can see one dropping a bomblet in a tank. I believe we actually saw this clip last time we were on air on Sunday. Yes, we did. We did see that one. And now we can see that tank brewing up again. In the, Rice Krispie treats, It's very nice. Those have got to be the biggest Bunsen burners ever. Someone needs to call the Guinness Book of World Records, because this has got to be the world's largest Bunsen burner right here.
Yeah, it could be.
It could be bleed, you know what I mean? So with that, we're now moving on from this clip, but once again, fairly nice to see that the Ukrainian drone pilots have been out there doing an incredibly good job. And speaking of the drone pilots, we have some news from Canada that has been very good to hear. And of course, is while smaller support in scale, it's still necessary and vital support to help out Ukraine. So moving on into Ottawa, we heard an announcement from the Canadian government saying that they are going to supply hundreds of modern reconnaissance drones to Ukraine. We can actually see a picture of one right there. These are the Teledyne FLIR R70 Sky Rangers. So let's take a look at the Teledyne FLIR, F-I-L-R, R70.
Oh, you mean FLIR, like the people that make the thermal cameras?
I think so. So here it is. This is the Sky Ranger R70 from FLIR. Apparently it's not FLIR, it's FLIR. But let me get on their website and let's see what we can find out about them. It's taking a while for the website to load. It appears it may be having some server issues, but rest assured it will eventually load. Any minute now.
That's weird.
That is weird. The second time was the charm. Developed for the most demanding UAS operations, the Sky Ranger R70 establishes a new benchmark for small UAS performance and reliability. With its extended carrying capacity, open architecture, and advanced autonomy and artificial intelligence, the R70 is redefining what's possible with small VTOL UAS. Adaptive, innovative, powerful. The R70's carbon fiber and magnesium airframe is tested to IP54-MIL810G, operating up to 15,000 MSL and withstanding sustained winds up to 65 kilometers per hour. The R70's open architecture includes the payload development kit, supporting payloads up to 3.5 kilograms. It allows end users and integrators to expand the capability set of their aircraft. Not only are they able to have this open architecture design on their drone, they also are autonomous, and not only that, intelligent. Advanced edge of network processing enabling object detection and classification, semi-autonomous flight, and the ability to thrive in GPS or comms-denied environments. It looks like this one will be getting around the Starlink issues that we've been seeing occurring in Ukraine for some while. So let's take a look. Oh, look, they actually made the Black Hornet too.
That's pretty cool.
I
didn't know FLIR made drones.
You know what's funny, Matthew? Speaking of that, moving on to something else about their website, is that it seems to be kind of a military-related hardware website, you know, trying to make these smaller-end equipment like drones and things like that for the infantry. And, you know, so it's more so focused on large contract orders, most likely. But at the same time, you scroll down and it's like Amazon. It's like buyers who also purchased the R70 also liked, and then they list off a whole bunch of other stuff. Still, it's really cool looking. It looks like a very advanced drone, and talking about its capabilities, it looks like it's a fairly capable drone, especially compared to what we've been seeing the Ukrainians use, like DJI Mavic 3s and such things like that. And there's nothing wrong with Mavic 3s. Mavic 3s are pretty good, and the Ukrainians have used those as the backbone of their drone forces. But at the same time, the Sky Ranger R70 is taking those abilities and just expounding on them by a massive degree. And so incredibly good to hear that the Ukrainians will be able to count on the Canadians to get a load of these things, of course, being produced and made in Canada, and hopefully we see these things on the battlefield soon. It doesn't seem as though we get a number. Let me go down here to Ukraine Forum, where this news came out.
It looks like Dale Alaticus said they're 14,000 apiece. That's actually not too bad considering the Matrix is about, I think it's 9,000, 10,000, something like that. For a larger drone with all those capabilities, that's pretty decent.
That is still pretty expensive. I mean, and it says right here, hundreds of modern reconnaissance drones. How many are hundreds, though? Let's see if we get an exact number. 300 drones as a donation from Canada, and a commitment that would most likely cost around $150 million in drones. Good God, that's actually really expensive. That means that costs about the price of 10 Tor anti-aircraft systems to get 300 of these drones. And so quite a generous amount of support from Canada in a specific realm that the Ukrainians dominate in. The Russians, while they have, over the course of this war, started to pick up on drone warfare, they've never really integrated it like the Ukrainians have. The Ukrainians have drones integrated into their squad-level units at this point, while from what we can tell on the Russian side, it appears that their drones are integrated at the battalion tactical group level instead of the squad or the company level. So very interesting to see that the Canadians will be providing an extra level of support to the Ukrainians in terms of their drones. I don't know how large 300 is in the large scheme of things, especially considering that squads have multiple drones apiece. So we may see these being a little rare around the front lines just because there's only 300 of them. But still, those 300 Sky Rangers may be changing the course of how the Ukrainian infantry's drone wars are going and make it a lot more effective, considering that they'll probably be able to see a lot more that they can. And speaking of which, they actually have a video right here for the R70. So let me see if it plays. And oddly enough, you can click it, but it does nothing. So I don't know if that's like a sprite or something. I don't really know. But Anyways, sadly, I can't show you the video. The video doesn't look to be loading. But damn, this thing is impressive and great for Canada to be sending these things, and hopefully we see them on the front line soon and wreaking havoc on Russian forces, much like most of the videos we see on the channel. And so with that, now it's time to move out of Canada and back into Ukraine and back into our location unknowns to move on to our next clip where we saw some accurately dropped drone grenades. Call this Amazon Prime because this is same-day shipping from the drone to the Russians on the ground. Let's check it out. Oh, gotta mute that. We can see a Russian taking care of his Amazon Prime box. It's empty right now. But right now, Matt, he's going, "Oh, great, Vladimir Vasilyevich Putin. Let there be bomblets in this box in one day." So he gets on, like, AliExpress, and he's ordering up, like, 3 bomblets, and the Ukrainians happen to be the delivery men. We can see him looking out into the distance. He's like, "Oh, have bomblet for me." So the drone is like, "Yes, we do. We have bomblet." So the drone will eventually make its way over to him, and it's dropping an F1 grenade. It falls right through the crevice in the bunker. How bad of luck can you get? Look at that. There's like, this is not a badly made bunker as far as trash bunkers go for the Russians. You know, because that's really all they make. But at the same time, there's these little cracks and holes in it here and there that make sure that there will be stuff that gets inside, like water and such things like that. And somehow that F1 grenade found the little crack right there, you can see it, and went clean through. Let's watch again. Look at that! Oh my god, how unlucky. Right through the hole! So, you know, there's a Russian in there, Matty. He's going, "The Bamlet can't kill me. I'm in bunker." And then he just hears, it just goes through the roof, and he's like, "Oh, suka!" And then it just explodes. So it looks like the bunker didn't really provide them much protection. Remember to take notes, y'all. The #1 key to having a well-protected bunker is making sure the roof actually has no holes in it. Otherwise,
that would be helpful.
Yeah, otherwise it's not a roof, it's just a covering. And we can see them blasting the hell out of these Russian trench works. Of course, we don't know where they are, but they are doing work on them. Oh my god. Matthew. Matthew. This tarp will protect us from anything from above. Shut the grenade. Nah, I doubt that. Blink, goes straight through. You can literally see it's like a cartoon. It makes an F1 grenade imprint. Tarp. Yeah, look, it literally made like one of those cartoon-shaped imprints where someone falls from the sky and they slam into the ground. There's like that human-shaped hole. It made an F1 grenade-shaped hole in the tarp.
What about that?
Like, you see the little top, like the neck of the grenade, the base of the grenade, and then it just explodes and the tarp goes floating away. It looks like that didn't really help them out either. We can now see them dropping a grenade to follow that on up. It seems to be some kind of high explosive grenade. I don't really know what kind that is. But with that, that's the end of the clip. And you can see that those drones were doing an impeccable job making sure to take out Russian defensive networks. And it looks like the Russians need to get better at making defensive networks so that way they don't have holes in the roofs of their bunkers. That's just stupid. What's the point of a roof if you have holes in it? And not only that, the roofs lean in towards the holes. So even if it doesn't land on the hole, it rolls into the hole. It doesn't make any sense. You know, anything the Russians do doesn't make any sense, but that's just unbelievable and next level stupidity right there. So with that, we're now moving on into our next bit of Location Unknown news, where we can see a Ukrainian drone pestering a tank. We don't know where this was, but the 72nd Brigade did a great job at harassing it. So, of course, we have music, but we see the Russian tank right there, and we see it hanging out. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Did you see that, Matthew? The commander coming out of the turret with a strap. he literally came out with a carbine. He's like, "I'm going to shoot that thing down, Bliet." You can see it right there. Look. He's like, did you see it?
Yeah, I saw him.
Dude, he whipped out that little carbine like a Glock. We'll have to see if that helped him out in the future. We now see him dropping a bomblet right onto the gunner's hatch, and then right onto the engine bay of this T-70, well, T-80? We now see the tank trying to get away, because they're scared, bleed. We now see them dropping another one right on the engine bay. And that one certainly hit the engine. We could see some vapors coming out of the rear exhaust. And once again, right there.
Hello, the same shot they just played the second time.
I'm not really sure. I was thinking that too. We now see the tank moving on, but the engine bay clearly is showing signs of damage, with smoke coming out of it at a small degree, and a very heavy amount of vapors. We can now see the tank has stopped later on down. And, oh, Matthew, it was a kill. It was a kill. They didn't blow the tank up on the first hit, but that damage to the engine was enough that the tank couldn't make it out of there and the crew bailed. So it's a kill.
Nice.
Jaga jaga. Igor! Oh, that one missed. It literally hit the rim like a basketball. So that one went flying off, exploded in front of the tank. They're now coming in a second time.
Is that the same tank?
Yeah, that's the same tank. I was just explaining. Like, watch this. I'll explain the whole thing from start to finish. So here's that tank earlier, from what we can tell. See how the engine bay, after it got hit by the first bomblet, is smoking heavily, and it seems the tank's a little sluggish?
Yeah.
So it moves on down, a little bit down the tree line, but the engine damage was apparently so bad the commander gave the order to bail out, and the tank was abandoned. So it was a kill.
That's kind of weird. It wouldn't still be smoking.
Well, I mean, the engine's off. The engine's
Seems
off.
like it'd be smoking anyway.
I don't know, but still, the first one bounced off the rim. Exploded. Second one falls right into the driver's hatch. The drone goes flying off. It explodes. We can see a decent amount of fire coming out, which shows that that explosion may have reached the ammunition, although we can't see that yet. And also, thank you, Avera. I didn't get to mention that a second ago, but thank you so much, Avera. We now see the tank burning from the inside. Sadly, we didn't get to see it explode, but that tank is certainly out of action. Huge credit to the 72nd Brigade for being able to destroy a tank with probably what costed about $30 a pop for a bomblet. So for about the price of $90, they took out a $3.5 million tank. Not bad. I feel like that's a fairly efficient way to take out tanks. Oh, man. You know, Matthew, that feels like one of those scam things, like the drop shipping thing. You know, hey guys, want to know how to take out a $3.5 million tank with just $90 in 2 hours of your time? Well, watch this until the end and give this shady organization $50 and we'll tell you how to do it. That almost feels like that with how cheap they're able to take out the Russian tanks. But with that, we're now moving on to our next clip of Location Unknown News, where we can see a Ukrainian tank moving through a trench. Well, actually, I put trench. I don't know why, but they're moving through a forest. So here's the clip. Also, I'm going to have to mute that, but when you see the tanks moving their way through, it's a little hazy in there. When you see them just enjoying their time driving down this somewhat muddy road in the forest, of course, we don't know where exactly this is. But with that, that's the end of the clip. And once again, very impressive to see that we were able to witness these guys driving through this little forest here. It's a very nice little clip, not long and not a lot of action, but still a very nice look in terms of the aesthetic, I guess. With that, we're moving on into our last bit of Location Unknown News. And everyone needs to strap in. Everyone needs to put their seatbelts on. If you hyperventilate easily, make sure to take out your little Lay's potato chip bags or whatever and start using them to breathe. Because we're about to be going into the casualty reports. And the casualty reports today, we haven't been able to go back and get the exact count from the highest day of the war. We'll go back and get that. But this appears to be the second highest, if not the highest day for the Russian armed forces and the number of dead they've taken over a short period of time. So strap in. And I'm not hyping this up. Y'all are about to see numbers in the infantry that are unbelievable. So let's get right into it and just make sure to breathe very calmly. 1,060 Russian soldiers killed over 24 hours.
Jeez. I think that might be one of the higher figures we've seen.
That, I think, is one of the highest figures I've seen. If I remember correctly, the highest number we've seen in the war was like 1,190 in a day. So it's huge. This is getting on up there. It's just a couple of dozen shy from being the highest day we've seen, if I remember the highest number correctly. So this is unbelievable. And also it's showing that the Wagner unit, considering that that's where most of the fighting is occurring right now in terms of the infantry, is taking massive losses in the Battle of Bakhmut. They were able to take ground today, and we will be getting into that in a minute and showing what's been going on in the Bakhmut area. But that ground came at an incredibly steep price. 1,060 troops killed over the entirety of the front line over the past 24 hours, and from what our information suggests, almost all of that came from the Battle of Bakhmut. Moving on from that, we also saw 11 armored personnel carriers get wiped out, a fairly consistent and average number at this point. So while it's good and it's great, I'll tell you all that, it's not exactly surprising and almost unbelievable like the infantry losses were for the Russians today. That is in a whole other arena again. It's getting back up to what we've seen for the past month. 16 supply trucks were destroyed. This is getting on up into the fairly large numbers of supply trucks destroyed over 24 hours. And 5,323 supply trucks being lost over the entire war is certainly something the Russians can't brush off. But at the same time, it has been a year, and we are expecting at this point, considering that the production of Ural 4320s is a fairly simple process, they probably have been able to replenish some of their logistics forces with Ural 4320s and proper military supply trucks, but probably not a lot, maybe just a few hundred in number. Now, this number was fairly interesting. 9 main battle tanks were destroyed over the past 24 hours. That is getting up towards the equivalent of an entire battalion tactical group worth of tanks lost in 24 hours. Now, this is what seems to be weird about that. Usually, when the tank losses are this high, the infantry losses are fairly low compared to the average. But today, the tank losses were high and the infantry losses were high. We haven't seen these two combined really in a long time, and even back when we used to see this, it was on much lower numbers, like 9 tanks would be lost and about 400 500 guys would be killed in a day, and we considered that large. Now we're seeing 1,060 soldiers killed and 9 tanks lost, and that's now being considered the new norm. 23, and y'all heard that right, 23 artillery systems were destroyed today. Kyiv Independent reports the towed artillery and the SPGs all in the same category from what we can tell. So that may have been missed to S's, missed to B's, D20s, D30s. It could have been Gyansons. It could have been peons for all we know. But 23 of them were destroyed today, which is an incredibly high number for the artillery, and showing that the Russian artillery batteries may be suffering, and they're probably having to draw up entire new artillery batteries to come to the front line and replace the losses that they took today. Nine drones were destroyed. Not a high number. I was getting stuttering there because I was like, that's actually not what we're about to get to, because there is another high report. 1 aircraft was lost. We don't know what aircraft, but 1 aircraft was lost. And most of the Russian aircraft that the Russians have been losing recently, for example, the Su-34 or the Su-24, and I'll show you all this, the cost of a single Su-34 is around 36 million US dollars. The cost of a single Su-24 is around 24 to 25 million dollars. So an aircraft can be fairly expensive. And these are the ones that we saw being shot down last week, were Su-24s and Su-34s. So it could have been anywhere in between 25 to 36 million dollars in the cost of aircraft lost. And once again, some people may be wondering, why do we always equate the vehicle losses in some categories to monetary figures? That's because these aircraft cost money, and maintaining and keeping up a force in this war costs an exorbitant amount of money on both sides. And so if you're seeing a $36 million aircraft getting shot down, the Russians either have to spend another $36 million to have one brand new and constructed, which is impossible due to the sanctions, which means that they just ate $36 million in losses in their military that they'll never be able to recover, at least over the course of this war. Moving on down into another category, this is the highest number of losses we've seen in this category in a very long time. 253 anti-aircraft warfare systems have been lost over the whole war, and 3 of those were just lost over the past 24 hours. That means that about $45 million in anti-aircraft systems have been destroyed in the past 24 hours by Ukrainian armed forces. And, this is the kicker, 2 Bobcat skid steers were destroyed.
Is that 2 for me? But seriously speaking, though, if y'all follow the Twitter, or not the Twitter, actually the community page here on the YouTube channel, you'll see that a viewer actually sent me a model Bobcat to the P.O. box, and we unboxed it and saw it, I think, yesterday. Very cool. And also, I won't call the viewer out because I don't think he wanted me to say it, but super cool. I actually got a real one.
Call him out. Call him out.
Call him out.
Why'd you go Australian? Oh man, but
I was just thinking about Australia. I figured I'd give him a shout out. Call him out.
Someone's about to go, don't you dare. But anyways, let me go and grab the community post, because I got to show y'all this. I thought it was really cool, and also Matthew, a lot of people were joking on him for this, but as you can see right there, a community well, a viewer from the Lee Spring Army, not a community viewer. It's the Lee Spring Army. It's special. And they sent us in the P.O. box a bobcat skid steer. It's like the exact ones we joke about, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. And also, everyone started joking on Matthew because he was wearing the glove that he used to open all the mail that we get in the picture. And so people in the comments, let me see if I can find some of them, Matthew, because some of them were actually pretty funny. The newest, let's see, sweet, don't know, let's see.
Don't know if Matt's old enough to operate one. Man, I've been operating Bobcats since I was like 12 years old, like in real life.
El Rabito said, still wearing that protective glove. Let's see.
Yeah.
I mean, we wear a lot of protection whenever we're opening any fan mail because we don't ever know what's in it until we open it, and then we're like, oh, that's cool.
We're gonna have to make a video like showing the whole process, like the Tyvek suit, everything. So like, I have to put a video out on that.
Oh man, every time we get fan mail, I walk into Matthew's office and I go, Jesse, we must cook. And then he puts on the whole suit.
Let them cook.
Yeah, wait, let him cook. And he puts on the whole suit and everything, and then he takes the stuff and opens it. So if there is an anthrax spore, we're not dying immediately. We've got like a couple of days at least. Anyways, those are the Russian loss reports for the day. Absolutely fantastic. We don't see numbers like this often, and hopefully these numbers stay consistent, because that means that the Russian armed forces in the area of Bakhmut are losing their shirts, and that's exactly what the battle has come down to. Of course, there's been conflicting reports now, and it seems that some people are starting to change their beliefs on what Bakhmut is, because while we've been going under the assumption that Bakhmut is not strategically important, it appears that Zelensky is now stating it is strategically important. And I would actually have to disagree. I don't really think Bakhmut is strategically important, but one thing it is important for the Ukrainians in a strategic sense is keeping these kinds of losses going for as long as possible. These losses are mostly coming from Bakhmut, and if that is Zelensky's aim, to hold Bakhmut for the reason of having these losses stay at a consistent rate for the next few weeks, however long the Battle of Bakhmut continues on for, that is what it is for. And through these losses, the Russian army is becoming further weakened, further exhausted, and they certainly will not be able to survive as long as everyone's expecting in this war. And so with that, we're now moving on from the casualty report, and we're now going to be moving on into the Battle of Bakhmut itself and talking about the front line that we've seen today and what's been happening over there over the past 48 hours. But before we get into that, we've got to address the polls, because a lot of y'all are saying that a new system that's being introduced to the battlefield that unfortunately we couldn't cover in tonight's news might be a game changer. It seems a lot of y'all are saying that it probably will be a game changer. And I'm wondering, Matthew, what are these folks thinking about this poll? But also, no rush to get to that one in particular. If you want to go through the other ones first, feel free. But what are the polls looking like?
Well, actually, since you mentioned it, let's start off by going over that one. So we have 3 polls to address, and addressing the one that's currently running, it says the U.S. confirms that JDAM ERs are now in Ukraine and in use on the battlefield, and what are your thoughts? 64% said that's excellent, it's a game changer. 6% said unsure, 28% said it certainly helps, and 1% said, nah, it's not going to be that good. And I think it's going to be a game changer because of this reason. The Ukrainians can attach that kit to much larger bombs, which they couldn't usually use before, and they can go for 45 miles of range, which is tremendously good, especially considering the large munition that it is. And I believe Enforcer is about to show us a chart or something of it, but I think it's really going to be a game changer. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'm going to try and show you a picture of one of these things. Also, like, man, dude, the Wikipedia people are so freaking fast. They've already updated it where Ukraine is a user on the map of the JDAM ER, and that was just announced, I believe, yesterday or today, and they've already updated it on there. So pretty wild to see that they've done that. But moving on from that, I'm trying to find you all a picture of one of these things. Y'all can see them here being dropped from an F-15E in 2009 in Afghanistan. Pretty much what it is that you take a normal bomb. It's how do we explain it, Matthew? It's like a car upgrade kit, pretty much. You take a normal dumb bomb.
I think it's literally, it just clamps on a dumb bomb, like literally just a conversion kit.
Yeah, so let's say for the purposes of this, we take a Mark 84 bomb. Just a normal Mark 84. And hopefully I'm remembering this correctly. Oh yeah, here we go. So let's say you're taking a bomb like this. It's got no fence. It's got no guidance, no nothing. It's a stupid bomb. It failed in high school. It's now a trash man. And by the way, speaking of which, have you seen how much trash men get paid, Matthew? I don't know why the hell teachers are saying, pay attention in school or you'll be paid like the trash men. The trash men get paid more than the teachers.
Man, it's about time. They deserve the pay. They got a tough job out there.
Yeah, they got a tough job. It's a sucky job, and they deserve the pay. But anyways, this bomb is dumb. Stupid as they get. But if you take this JDAM ER kit, which is like Chat GBT to a college student, then the thing flies. You can take the exact same bomb, put some wings on it with a guidance system, and also an improved tail section. You just remove the old tail section from this one and put on a new one. And this thing can fly. Well, it can glide itself to a target 45 miles away with pinpoint accuracy. So it has, under the proper circumstances, under ideal conditions, 45 miles of range, and it can drop off more explosive ordnance than a HIMARS can with a single missile. So these things are actually great, and very cool, actually. Really, really neat to think that you can take a normal bomb, you can really take any bomb in your inventory, and with the proper kind of modifications, make it into a guided smart bomb.
That's really actually pretty cool. I'm not sure exactly how they managed to do that. I just know it literally clamps onto the bomb and it allows it to fly for 45 miles, and that's literally it. But however the smart aspect of it works, how it guides it to the target, that must be some pretty high-tech technology in there.
So to explain how it gets 45 miles is relative because that is under ideal conditions, but someone's about to geek out. I know they are, and they're going to tell us why it really won't have 45 miles. 45 miles is at the maximum altitude that you can drop this thing, the highest altitude, because these things do not have any form of propulsion. They're pretty much explosive gliders, and they glide their way to a target. So you have to be at like 30,000 feet, most likely, to drop this thing, and then have it glide 45 miles to its target. It's not like it's a missile or anything where you can launch it at like 5,000 feet, and then it travels for 45 miles like that. The range of this thing depends entirely on the altitude of the aircraft it's being dropped from. So in Ukraine, its range is probably going to be a little shorter, considering that Ukrainian aircraft can't really fly that high and ensure that they'll be safe or not shot down. So it'll probably be a shorter range than the advertised 45 miles. But nonetheless, imagining a 1,000-pound bomb slamming into someone's position with pinpoint accuracy from miles away, dropped by an aircraft, is incredibly impressive. I don't know how much these kits cost, but let's see if we can get a cost per unit. JDAM ER cost. Only $25,000. So you can actually...
That's pretty good, considering you turned the thing into such a lethal weapon.
That's incredible, because I think that other munitions, like guided munitions, like a Tomahawk or something similar like that, only have about 500 pounds, and of course I'm saying this off the top of my head, so it can be wrong, about 500 pounds of explosive mass in it, and they cost like $500,000 for the entire cruise missile. The Mark 84, let's see how much a Mark 84 bomb costs. So a Mark 84 general purpose bomb that weighs 2,039 pounds only costs $3,100 to produce. And so adding an extra $25,000 system onto it, making the total cost of it about $28,000, or really just shy of $30,000, you can do the same work that a Tomahawk cruise missile could at $500,000. And of course, Tomahawk's for a different mission. It has a much farther range than the glide bomb, the JDAM ER does. But still, absolutely impressive to think that you can get that kind of ability at that kind of price. So I'll say, I'll have to agree with the 64%. This thing is certainly a game changer. And if the Ukrainians do get more advanced aircraft in the future, and we've also heard some really cool news about that. I don't know if Matthew's thrown up a poll on it. We may be seeing that these things are game changers in their own right in the support that they'll be giving to the front lines. So with that, I hope that addresses that poll for well.
Real quick before we move on, the only catch is with this, even though it is going to be a game changer, the Ukrainians only have a handful of them. A U.S. Air Force general said in a statement that they only have, I think 5 or 6. So they're going to go pretty fast, so they better use them wisely.
Putin's going to be in his summer mansion, sitting there listening to Afghan, 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 and then he's just going to hear He's going to go, oh, bleh, and then it's going to be it. But
Yeah, can we allocate one for him specifically?
I wonder if we can. I would be very interested to see if we could, because of course, who wouldn't want to see that? A glide bomb hitting that mansion. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next poll.
All right, and our next poll says Zelensky vows to hold Russians responsible for the brutal murder of a POW, and what are your thoughts? And this video has been circulating around on Twitter and social media constantly for the last 2 days, and it's caught the attention of everyone from U.S. politicians to even Zelensky himself. Very gruesome video, and hopefully y'all haven't had the unfortunate honor of watching it. It's really quite brutal. But 59% said maybe one day we can get justice. 20% said justice will happen shortly. 16% said nothing can really be done. And 4% said unsure. And I'm going to go with the 16% that said nothing can really be done. And I say that because until something changes in the government in Russia and Putin is either taken out of power, there's really no way to hold him directly responsible. We might be able to get lower level people, but not the guy who really sanctioned it. But Enforcer, what say you?
Sadly, we probably won't be able to get the guys who are accountable. I don't know. The Ukrainians have pulled off miracles before. Like, they got all of the butchers of Bucha outside of Kharkiv and pretty much wiped out that entire brigade, almost went after them as a target. So the Ukrainians probably will be able to find a way to find the guys who shot that prisoner and get them for that. You know, not any court trial or anything, just blow them away on the front lines. But that video was pretty gruesome to watch, and you could tell that guy knew as soon as the video started that it was it for him. He was like, you know, they're recording me, they're not really taking me prisoner or anything, I'm just kind of standing here, they're going to gun me down. So he got out as Slava Ukraini, and then they unloaded pretty much 3 whole magazines into the guy, and he dropped to the ground dead. It's a straight up war crime, of course. There's no other way you can say, well, you know, I don't know how anyone's going, well, you know, it's acceptable, because it's not. Those Russian soldiers obviously had enough time to sit there and film a video. There was no firefight even going on in the background of the video, if I remember correctly, Matthew.
I don't believe so. I think they were trying to take him prisoner.
So it was absolute dead quiet. This unit is in no kind of rush or in a very precarious position where they can't take on prisoners, so clearly they could. And so they sat there and decided, with the ability to take on prisoners, and this guy completely unarmed and defenseless at this point, and already having surrendered, that they're going to gun this guy down. Of course, a lot of people say, and it is largely true, that executing war criminals is executing prisoners is completely unacceptable, but under some circumstances, and there's a lot of them in history, if a unit is in a very risky position, like encircled or similar, and they can't take on prisoners, it usually is common for them to be executed. But obviously, that was not the situation there, and the fact that we've reached the modern age where it usually is always the case that a unit can take on prisoners because a military's ability is far beyond what we see in the Second World War or anything similar, to gun that guy down was a straight-up war crime. And hopefully the people who did that will be found accountable, and hopefully, well, I don't want to sound like it's an eye for an eye kind of thing, but hopefully they'll be gunned down as well. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. I hope that none of y'all have seen that video. There is one on Twitter, though, where they blur the guy out once he starts getting shot. But going through and finding the news tonight, I actually saw the unedited, the unblurred version where he got shot, and that was fairly gruesome. So with that, we're on to the next one, but I hope we addressed that fairly well.
All right. And the last poll we have says U.S. and German officials say that the Nord Stream pipeline was hit by a quote-unquote pro-Ukrainian group, and what are your thoughts on that assessment? It looks like 34% said Russia actually did it, 19% said the pro-Ukraine group did it, 20% said USA did it, and 27% said none of the above, undecided, or unsure. And I have to admit that the story was broken by the New York Times this morning about this alleged pro-Ukraine group hitting the pipeline. I have my doubts about that, although my doubts were kind of allayed a little bit when I heard that Germany agreed with the U.S. officials' assessment on it. But, you know, the details are a little bit fuzzy, because here's what we were told by the German newspaper that reported on it as well from the German investigators. They said that the attack on the pipelines was carried out by a team of 6 people using a yacht that had been hired by a company registered in Poland and owned by 2 Ukrainian citizens. So the divers would have to go down pretty damn deep to get down to that pipeline. So that's not I guess, a beginner's dive, to say the least. So they'd have to be very experienced, and it sounds kind of a little bit unreasonable, if you ask me, the assessment. But only time will tell what the truth actually is. But Enforcer, what say you?
1 second. How deep, do divers, how deep until diver bell is needed? Diving bell. Let's see. At a depth of 56 meters, assuming you use air to fill the dive bell. So let's see. Modern bells may accommodate up to 4 divers and have been used at depths of more than 1,000 feet or 300 meters. So, wait, hang on. Let me pull this up. How deep until divers get bends? Let's see here. Most often, bends are a real concern after just 30 feet underwater. The deeper you go, the more likely you are to run into bends if you surface too quickly. So this thing is not 9 meters. It's at the minimum 80 meters below the water, and at the greatest 110 meters below the water. So let's think about this for a second. They take a yacht, and they sail out here to the Nord Stream pipeline. They drop off 2 divers, or how many divers they had, who are able to lug a large enough explosive down underwater without sinking with the explosive, just rapidly descending and dying from, just the compression alone. Somehow set up the explosive, and then swim back up. And they have to get out of the water because the explosion and the concussive blast in the water would most likely kill them. So they have to swim all the way back out of the water, and they have to do that incredibly slowly from that depth, so that way they don't get the bends and die. So that seems unlikely. They get back on the yacht, and then they blow the thing up. I've got to be honest with you. It seems very slightly plausible that they could have been able to do it. But at the same time, just imagine the amount of... I'm trying to think about it. The amount of effort that would have had to have gone into this. It doesn't seem like it's likely when you put all of this into perspective. Let's see here. Once you die...
And also another thing that people were pointing out that I also thought myself, look at the terminology used. Pro-Ukrainian group. That could consist of
the US
basically
Navy.
anyone that supports Ukraine. That could be the U.S. We're a pro-Ukraine group, I guess you could say. So it could be, the U.S. trying to play word games and basically, avoid saying we did it and kind of not lie at the same time. It doesn't seem like just random guys on a yacht decide to sail out and go do something like this. It doesn't seem like that would be the case, but that's the official report.
And wait a minute, they're saying that divers did it? Because a lot of people are saying that it may have been a automated sub, like with a little robotic arms on it. Did they say it was divers or some kind of equipment that they used? And how did they load that onto a yacht?
The German investigators say it was divers, very experienced divers, and the U.S. officials concur with that.
So everyone's saying it's divers, so it's not a submarine.
No. And Ukraine doesn't even have who would have a submarine?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of those little, let me see if I can pull them up. Automated, subs. And let me see if I can find a picture of them. Automated submarine. Or an autonomous sub. This is a picture of one. That's like some kind of a Navy thing that they use for scouring the water.
Oh, man, there's no way just some group of Ukrainians are going to have a high-tech robot like that.
And on top of that, they would have had to take in a yacht, because they're saying it's a yacht. They're not saying it's any kind of special support ship or anything similar that carries this kind of stuff. They would have had to take this yacht and had it fitted or refitted to be able to carry this thing, all in view of port authorities and probably in the visible eye of wherever this is in Poland. And no one mentioned it. And then they just sail off into the sea with an automated sub on the back of this yacht or the front of it, and everyone just goes, oh, yeah, they're just going out for some beers on the ocean. No, I don't believe that. So, on top of that, I still have to go with this. Considering that you get the bends below 9 meters underwater, if you service too quickly and all that stuff, and they would have had to have gone nearly 80 to 110 meters underwater, so 10 times deeper than you need to get the bends at all. It seems really weird to me that they were able to pull that off without getting bends, because I believe at that depth, even while it seems shallow compared to how deep you really can go, you would need a diving bell because it would take days to decompress from getting that deep in the water.
Yeah, yeah, and also I see some folks in the chat saying that maybe Ukraine had one of those robots, but they're not saying it was Ukraine. And also Zelensky has disavowed having any knowledge of this whatsoever. The Ukrainian government has also disavowed it. So it would have to be independent people that went out and bought this robot, knew how to use it, hired a yacht, did all this work to go and sabotage one of the most notorious pipelines in the world. It just doesn't seem very plausible.
And also, Eddie Boa Nova, I believe is how it's pronounced. He said, it can be done. The bends are unrelated. The bends are absolutely related, because if a human physically cannot do something like this without a massive deal of mechanical or technical support, it means that the story seems a little far-fetched. Because do you need, let's type this in. Do you need a diving bell at 80 meters? Let's see. Do we still use diving bells? Can you dive 80 feet?
Also, Susie Halsey, one of the mods, says, "Are you looking at the right Nord Stream?"
Looking at the right, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
Was it Nord Stream 1 or 2? Because I think I remember it was Nord Stream 1, if I'm correct.
Let's see. I think you'd have to pull that up. I don't have that in front of me yet, unfortunately.
Let's see. Nord Stream blown up. We're going down a rabbit hole here, but this one is a very interesting one because it throws into question whether this seems to be plausible or not. So let's see. And so, clandestine bombings and underwater gas leaks occurred on the Nord Stream 1 and the Nord Stream 2. So it was both of them. So it seems as though it doesn't really matter which one it is, because either is the Nord Stream 1 or the Nord Stream 2, but to blow up this particular Nord Stream, you would have had to go on 80 to 110 meters underwater. And I don't think you can go that deep without having a diving bell or something similar. Let's see, a diver may part of the dive before, let's see, special training. You know, I honestly, we're not really getting any straight answers from the internet here about how deep do you need to go until you need a diving bell. So maybe we have an expert diver here in the live chat that can tell us if a diving bell is needed at that depth, or whether there's a way to circumvent it. Because I've seen a lot of people saying heliox and things like that could be ways to get down there and blow up the pipeline without needing a diving bell. But I don't know. All I know is that at that depth, it seems like you get the bends, you would need a diving bell or something similar. And I haven't heard anyone saying that. Well, I haven't heard.
And I see people that are certified divers in the chat saying that they can only go 60 feet. So, I mean, that's telling us something here. I think that dive seems like it's a pretty advanced dive. If I'm no dive like expert or anything,
I mean, like,
but it seems a little low. Advanced.
This seems a little asinine to me to say a diver could go down that far, because back in the Second World War, a U-boat getting down to 110 meters was only about 20 meters away from crush depth. You know, and having the submarine literally implode that's made out of steel. So I feel like a little fleshy little person, you know, swimming down that deep would probably just crush up, or they would have to require a massive amount of technology and support to make sure that they don't die from the bends when they're trying to resurface. So, let's see. I'm trying to see. Some people are saying very advanced dive. Someone said no, 60 meters. Even if it is 60 meters, that's still not deep enough to make it to even the most shallow areas where the Nord Stream is underwater. So, even if it's 60 feet or 60 meters, they're still not able to get down there without a diving bell. So
this story seems so far-fetched. It almost makes me wonder if the U.S. did it, because it's so far-fetched that I'm kind of like in disbelief that even try to propagate that story.
How long can a diver go 80 meters underwater? Let's type that in. Let's see. Such divers can go as deep as 200 meters and must perform, and wait a minute, here we got it, from deepbluediving.org. Scuba diving, oh, well, let's get past that. So, wait a minute. Recreational divers, the estimated depth is around 130 feet. So, maybe 30 meters. But their time to explore is very limited as the water pressure and the intake of compressed air becomes a threat to the diver's health. Generally, divers will only have around 10 minutes to explore before they need to begin their ascent. The ascent has to be in slow and includes stops after deep diving to prevent decompression sickness or the bends. However, divers can go as deep as 1,000 feet and explore for a good few hours, but their ascent will be very slow since they have to make decompression stops along the way. As you can imagine, there'd be no question after that such deep diving you would end up with decompression sickness or the bends and die if you ascend too fast. Let's see, diving without... What happens to your body if you dive too deep? Effects of water, nitrogen narcosis. What is the maximum depth? Let's see, the world record for the deepest dive was set by an Egyptian who completed his 1,000-foot dive into the Red Sea and is considered to be the deepest scuba dive ever. He used 9 scuba tanks and spent 14 hours on decompression stops. He had been a professional diver for around 17 years and had spent 4 years just preparing for this record-breaking dive. How deep? With scuba gear, around 1,000 feet or more, can reach 2,000 feet. How deep can maximum depth? Let's see. There is no fixed depth, but commercial divers can manage to reach depths of 2,000 feet with the help of atmospheric suits. There have been recreational divers who've reached at least 1,000 feet, and they were perfectly all right afterward. So now that we read this, it does appear that it is possible, but the amount of time that these divers are underwater is unbelievable just to be down there for a very short amount of time. And then it begs the question, considering that they can only be down there for a few hours at best, or maybe just minutes, how many times did they have to go down there, and how long did that take for them to be able to do that? Because, you know, fixing an explosive to this pipe and making sure that it will work, as it had to have taken some kind of time. But anyways, we've spent a long time on this, a very, very long time.
It was interesting, though, because, like, I've learned a lot about diving from this whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, so if you are a diver... you know, because we're not the end all be all know it all on knowledge of diving. This is about the first time I've ever looked into it in depth. If y'all want to send us some information about whether that is possible or not possible for divers to dive to depths at minimum of 80 or at max 110 meters and set up explosives down there in the short amount of time that they'll have, let us know, because I would love to know from actual people who are experienced in that field whether it is possible or not, or whether the information we're getting is right or not. So with that, I hope that does address that poll fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right. And that was actually our last poll, believe it or not.
Oh,
so
no.
with that being said, we are on to our super chat questions finally, after that very long but interesting rabbit hole. And the very first one is from Avir Anthony, who puts in a whopping $200 donation.
Holy
and thank you very
moly.
much, Avir, for that. Very generous. He says, answer a question from the chat, please.
And thank you so much for the support of Aaron, helping this channel to keep on running. And we will make sure to get a question from the chat, but I want to thank you once again. And so with that, what do we got for the live chat?
All right, so our live chat question goes to Richard K., who says, do we know how many troops that Wagner actually has?
Sadly, we do not. We know the numbers are starting to decline now because even Prigozhin is starting to complain that banning them from conscripting prisoners is hitting their numbers. So we don't know what it is right now, but it's definitely lower than its peak. Probably, in my estimate, by maybe 20% at the minimum. And going from there, it could be even worse. So with that, I hope that does answer that live chat the best we can, at least with the knowledge we have and the small amounts of information we've gotten about it. But of course, I thank you so much once again for the support of AIR and helping this channel to keep on running, and thank you for being so generous in sponsoring that live chat. And so with that, we are on to the next one, and thank you once again for the support, and thank you for a very interesting question as well. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
Yes, indeed. And up next, we have a $115 donation from Duncan VR. And also, thank you, Duncan. That's also very generous. And, of course, animal noise time. He says, Bamuba, Mr. Pootler, ruff ruff, went to his mansion, meow meow, for a naughty weekend, with, I can't read that part. Let's see. He did something there, very, very graphic there at his little place. There was a giant hungry rat, Baba. It launched out of the something. I don't know what that means. I'm scared to read it. Meow, and bit Pootlers something off. Clean off.
No. Oh my god. Is that the end of it?
That's the end.
Oh my god, I know it ending, but still, thank you so much for the support, Duncan VR, and always sending in those funny messages. They're almost like, I would say Psyops might beat you on that, Duncan, because usually his super chats are always vetted every time they come in. But still, I gotta thank you so much once again for the support, Duncan. It was a funny message, and I thank you so much once again for the support in sharing that with us, because that was pretty funny, buff Maruba. And so with that, we are on to the last question of the segment, but thank you so much once again, Duncan VR, for being a Elite Spring Army Old Guard and helping this channel to keep on running. And so with that, we are on to the last question of this segment, and then we're moving back into the news, starting with Bakhmut.
And yes, and thank you, Duncan, again for that support and pretty good joke. Sad I couldn't read it though. Also, Georgia Lake said, "Poor Matt." Yes, poor Matt. But up next, we have a $50 donation from Hal Rose, and thank you for that support as well, Hal, who says, "Enforcer, it's been over a year now. Any sign of a Ukrainian casualty report?"
And I thank you for
and I agree with you, Hal. I'd like to see that report as well.
And I thank you so much for the support, Hal, and of course helping this channel to keep on running. And to answer that question, we have not. We still do not have an official casualty report for the Ukrainian armed forces. And while it's probably a thing that the Ukrainians are doing to keep up morale, at the same time, I think it would be pertinent at some point to start posting casualty reports, because one thing we have seen is that there have been a decent amount of losses that we can see on video in Ukrainian cemeteries, but we still don't have an idea of how many losses in the military the Ukrainians have taken. Of course, civilian casualties, we usually get a fair idea on those. The Ukrainians do publish numbers on that, but in terms of their military losses, we haven't. That's why we no longer, and we abandoned this a long time ago, give kill to loss ratios with the Ukrainians versus the Russians, because we don't know how many losses the Ukrainians are taking in any given moment or any given battle to say that the losses are 4-1 or 9-1 or anything like that. So with that, I thank you for the support, Hal, but we have not seen an official stated casualty report from the Ukrainian government yet. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that question fairly well. And with that, it's now time for us to move on into the frontline news in Bakhmut. Bakhmut has been evolving in an interesting way over the past 48 hours. And the last time we were on stream, Matthew, I believe when you said we were talking about something about they blew up the bridges crossing the Bakhmut River in the middle of the city. And I said something like, if they're blowing them up, that means they're most likely trying to leave and create a divide amongst the two sides of the town, where it's going to be difficult for the Russians to cross. It appears that that is the case, as over the past 48 hours, the Russians have advanced right onto the Bakhmut River throughout most of the city, and it appears that the Russians control the eastern side of the city, which is the smaller side, about a third of Bakhmut, and the Ukrainians control the other 2/3 of Bakhmut on the western side. It appears that the Ukrainians are trying to play the strategic hand of land placement, and we can see that Russian forces are largely hitting brick walls wherever they find bodies of water, whether they be small creeks moving through the northern area of Bakhmut or north to south like the Bakhmut River. It appears that that is their largest hindrance, and it appears to be a blessing for the Ukrainians, because there are natural defensive lines, considering that Russians are like witches. They're apparently, they will die if they touch water. They can actually hold this town fairly well, considering that those are natural defensive barriers. So at the moment, making a prediction, and this prediction could be right or wrong, we may see that the largest routes of advance or movement or activities in the area of Bakhmut, talking about actual land gains for the Russians, will be in the south if they occur anywhere over the next few days, because there is a decent amount of ground, a decent amount of city blocks that they can take here in the south before they meet the next creek. Here in the north, it appears that the movement has stopped over the past 24 hours once they reached the creek. As you can see right there, they reached the creek and they've now stopped. Also over here, it appears that the Bakhmut River is a stopping factor as well. So it appears that the Ukrainians may be able to hold them down here, and the next areas of the battle that have any kind of action or may be precarious for the Ukrainians may be in the south or here on the western ridgeline, with the Russians trying to break out and move even further. So we'll have to wait and see.
It does look though like that pincer movement is being slowed down tremendously though. Like the Russians were expecting to go ahead and encircle it fully, and it looks like that's not going to happen as soon as they thought.
I would agree. It looks like it's completely stopped actually, because over the past 48 hours, notice again, the two furthest points of the pincer, both in the south and the north, have not moved at all. Everything else has moved by very small amounts here in the north and the south, as you can see right there. but nothing in the pincer has moved. And of course, that's the most, I guess you could say, important part of this entire battle at this point for the Russians is to close this pincer, because then they start a siege. And the siege is a winning battle for the Russians. Although they'll still be taking high losses, most likely, it does mean that there will be a foreseeable end in the future to the battle. And they're not moving. So that's very interesting to note. But now it's once again moved back into fighting block by block, house by house in Bakhmut, which is probably why the heavy losses have been taken over the past 24 hours, is because they've now reached the river, and down here in this area where they haven't, the Ukrainian forces are still beating the hell out of them through the small houses. So with that, we're now going to be moving into the frontline video, starting off in the area around Krasnohora, where we saw Ukrainian armed forces assaulting Russian positions in the area. This video was actually taken by the 3rd Assault Brigade in the 1st Mechanized Battalion. We're going to have to mute it, but we can see them firing at the Russian position, lobbing some grenades into it. We see the grenade explode. We now see this guy put down his rifle. He's grabbing a grenade, showing it to his friend. What the hell, man? He showed it like it was like some beers. He's like, "Hey, look, I came back from the store and look at this." And that guy over there, he's like, "Good, throw him in." He's like, "Okay." So now they're getting really close to the opening. When you see some shots come out, the soldier ducked down for a second. We can now see them moving positions. We see them moving past down telephone wires. We now see them moving on to another dugout where it seems that they're hanging out. An artillery shell landed nearby. It appears that no one suffered any shrapnel wounds. At least that we can tell yet. We now see one of them making a run for it through the open, and that's the end of the clip. But giving you an idea of what the 3rd Brigade's doing in the northern area, and it appears that they're in close assaults on Russian positions, most likely Wagner force. Well, actually, correction. We know that the Wagner is fighting in the center, in Bakhmut now, but from what we've been told, their forces in the north have been somewhat depleted. So this may actually be them fighting against regular Russian forces, normal Russian infantry, instead of the Wagner unit, but we're not really sure. But still, they're in close assaults in the area, and we can see that they're definitely putting the pressure onto the Russians' northern flank. We're now going to be moving down into the area of the northern Bakhmut suburbs, where we also saw the Wagner flag getting blown off of a building by Ukrainian fire. I'm going to have to mute that, but as we can see out there in the distance, there's a little Wagner flag, and if I'm seeing it correctly, it's up there. And we can see the artillery landing nearby. First shot was a little off to the right from where we think the flag is. And that's got to be the flag because it's fluttering around a lot. Nothing else really is. Yeah, that is the flag. We can now see another shell hitting near the flag. The flag looks like it almost got hit directly. Smoke's coming off the roof right beside it. And in a second, we're probably about to see the 3rd shot come in, which was a dead-on hit. The flag now disappears like a magic trick. Call this Ukrainian unit Houdini, because they're able to get rid of flags like no one else. Want to see a magic trick? I'm going to make this pencil disappear. I'm going to make this Wagner flag disappear. Shoves it up there. Well, I can't say that. But anyways, we're now going to be moving on from the Bakhmut area and moving on down into the center of the city where we saw in the eastern area. And also we're going to update the front line here because I know that we don't use this one like Deep State to call on what the front lines look like right now. But we will adjust it the best we can to make as accurate a depiction as possible. Which is going to look like that, kind of. So there we have it. So anyways, moving on to our next clip, we also saw a Russian column being destroyed on the outskirts of Bakhmut as it appeared they were trying to move into the city. We can see this column right here on its way. Also, we're going to have to mute that. We can hear the medieval instrument playing. We can see the Russian tank looking around, not realizing that it's being stalked by a very sneaky drone. Quite a sizable column as well, a decent amount of armored personnel carriers and main battle tanks, most likely carrying infantry, into the city. Wait a minute, what's that right there? Hang on, let me go back and read the caption here. Let's see. So this is... Wait a minute, hang on. There's a BTR-4 right here. Did I completely misread the title earlier? Because I swear I did, because this is a Ukrainian column, not a Russian column moving into the city. It appears to be a Ukrainian column that may be moving out of the city. So a sneaky Ukrainian drone is following the sneaky Ukrainian convoy. So, sorry about that, Erwin. There's a correction there for y'all. We can now see the Ukrainian tank doing its typical job of rolling down the tree line and blowing away the Russians. We can now see it advancing past the tree line and past another tank that is retreating. Well, actually, it looks like it's withdrawing, not retreating, because if it was retreating, it mostly would have turned head and tail and went the other direction. We can see some Russian trench works near that tank. We can see the Ukrainian tanks firing into the distance. We do not know if the infantry have offloaded from the vehicles yet. We can see an M113, though, behind that main battle tank firing off its 50 caliber gun. We can see them still hitting Russian positions. We can see them hitting more Russian positions over and over and over. It appears that the Russians are probably not having a fun time down there and are probably getting absolutely rattled. We can now see... Oh my god, this M113, the machine gunner said, pull me right up onto them. And he's literally just sitting there on top of the Russian trench, just laying him in with a 50 caliber right there.
What if the gunner's like legally blind? He's like, I can't see, pull closer.
In a second, they're literally going to roll the M113 onto the trench. He's just going to aim the gun straight down through the tank and fire through the floor. But it looks like they were getting him.
He's left his glasses at home, that's why.
Jankies, I left my glasses. I can't see without my glasses. But anyways, they're giving these guys hell. And it looks like the Russians are hardly even firing back. Probably because they don't have AT weapons, so it's just infantry being exposed. You now see them continuing to fire. And I just saw someone say that this is a training video, and I don't know how it looks like a training video with all of the tree lines as messed up as they are. This looks like it's near the front line, but we'll check just to make sure. We now see one of the tanks deploying smoke as it withdraws, firing off its gun as it continues on.
Look, a bot in the chat said, "Stop supporting Nazis, guys." That's right, Johan. That's why you shouldn't support Russia. No, my bad.
Man, he butchered his name and called him Johan instead of Johan. Oh man, salt in the wound. So let's see. Someone said this was a training video, so let me just read the title so that way we can get this correct. The work of the armored groups of the 184th, the 214th, the 5th Separate Assault Brigade, the 1st Special Forces Detachment of the 71st Brigade of the DSHV, and the aerial reconnaissance of Adam in the Bakhmut direction. So it is not a training video. I would find it highly unlikely that they were spending all of this ammunition on a training exercise and going into such depth, because it's not like they need to conduct war games to get fighting experience. There's a war going on, so just send them there and they get the fighting experience. So with that, nice seeing that clip. Once again, very nice to see, and I had to make sure it was in the Bakhmut direction like I read before. And now we're moving on into yesterday's news, where we saw a Ukrainian BMP-2 in Bakhmut hitting the Russians point-blank range. Again, we've seen this a lot, and it appears that Ukrainian, I guess you could say, tanks and armored personnel carriers are getting very confident and getting right onto Russian positions and firing at them, as it appears Russian forces lack a large number of anti-tank weapons. So pulling up to Russians like this is fairly safe. So we can see this BMP-2 pull up on some Russians and literally blow them away at point-blank range. When you see this thing just trekking through the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Would you be mine? But anyways, that's the end of the clip. Very nice to see that BMP-2 is getting right up on him, face to face with their opponents, and making sure to smack them around a little. As that guy said at the Clown Motel, Matthew, boy, I ought to come down there and knock you around a little. So with that, we're now moving on out of the center of Bakhmut and on into the southern direction, where we saw an Excalibur T-72 spotted in Ukraine. This is the first one we've seen on film on this channel of one of the upgraded and modified Czech T-72s making its way to the front line and actually being in service, as we see right here. We can also hear the smooth jazz playing in the background. We now see that little tank moving on along, and look at that thing go. That thing is check, Matthew.
Nice.
And we can see another
Checkmate.
one. You know, Matthew, I wonder if they've ever checked the oil in this tank.
Have they ever checked their blinker fluid? I
They-
get no respect around here. I get no respect.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I get no respect. I got a tank from the Czechs. I went to check the oil and there was a check in the oil tank. Oh man. Oh, and you got worse from
That'd be lovely. I'm sure they'd love that.
You just have a check.
Oh, look, a check.
You just have a check back there in the engine bay, and when you open it up, how's it going back there? Oh, it's going pretty good. The oil's good. Okay, and then you close it back down, and you just keep on.
Yes,
chugging.
I came with the tank. Oh, good.
It's like it's like roadside assistance. It just comes with every tank. So with that. That's the end of the clip. Great to see that the Czechs are out there checking the Russians with their tanks and giving them to the Ukrainians to make sure the job's done. And with that, we're moving on to our last clip that we were able to find in the Bakhmut area today, where we saw the Ukrainians taking on Azerbaijani volunteers taking on Russian prisoners. Sorry, I read the title there and then I messed up my entire line. So we can hear the interstellar music playing in the background as this Azerbaijani soldier is talking. And in a second, he'll pan the camera around and he'll show you some Russians. So we're talking a little bit more about the prisoners that they've taken on. And there is a Russian all tied up in a little dugout. A lot of green tape on that guy. You now see him talking on a little bit more. You know, he did the little fisting. He said Slavo Ukraini. That I know that part. You can tell that easily. But still, another prisoner, and great to see. We're now going to be moving out of the Bakhmut area and on into the northeast. We haven't gotten a lot of news, and of course, not a lot of frontline activities happened here. But in the area of north of Svatove, why am I butchering my words so badly tonight, Matthew? So badly.
I hadn't really noticed it. I think it's just you.
Well, whenever I butcher a single line, I feel like I'm doing terribly. And also, Gulf Marine said the Rodney is the best impression ever. It's good, but not a lot of people like Rodney, so it's really hard to do it often. But anyways, we can see the Russian tank. This was actually taken on the 9th of November in 2022, but considering we got the footage today, we thought we would show it. We can see a BMP further down the road, moving its way. And we can see an entire 5-kilometer long column. Let's see what happens to them. There's a Mr. S in that group too. Nice. Very nice. Good God, Matthew. It's the entire Russian brigade.
Jeez.
Dang, that's a lot of guys. It's sad to know that this will be their last time together. All right, chaps, let's all get together and have a little chat. All right, we're about to get hit. So let's all smile for the camera. And let's see what's about to happen. Oh! They didn't show us the entire attack. It just clipped forward to the part where everything's burning and on fire. But it looks like they got 2 of the main battle tanks. I can't tell if they got the supply trucks or the SPG because the smoke is so thick. Aaron's making Rodney jokes while we're sitting here watching this. But anyways, one MBT had a turret toss. The turret landed right beside the tank. Also, someone just said this was the 11th of September, and I don't know if there's a problem because I'm reading it as an American, which this is November, that's the 9th, and that's 2022. I don't know if that's the European date format where it's day, month, and then year. So you may be right. So I'm sorry about that if I am wrong. But still, we never saw that before, but an entire column was wiped out way earlier on in the year. I mean, like, hell. call these people drunk drivers because it looks like they got hammered and nailed. And so that's the end of that clip right there. That's the end of that clip right there. And it's really impressive to see, although that was a long time ago. We're now moving on down into the area of Kreminna, where we also saw a tank getting destroyed today. I didn't expect to get that kind of reaction from you, Matthew. Apparently that one was a zinger. So here's the clip.
Yes, it was.
Also, same music as normal. And we can see the tank go up in flames. And everyone's saying it's looking like summer. It was an old clip. We did know that going into it. But we don't know the date format. So it was either November or September. It was one or the other. I get no respect around here, huh? I tried to look at the calendar, and the calendar told me one thing, and it told everyone else the other. Oh, man, made me miss on a date. Oh, man. But anyways, we can see the tank charring and burning in the distance. And it's very nice to see. This thing's roasting like chestnuts on an open fire. If only Putin... Well, actually, only if Prigozhin could roast like that. That's one nut I'd like to see roasting. So with that, we're now...
He's on the back burner right now. Don't worry. He'll be moved to the front burner shortly.
Dude, one day he's going to sit up there on a rooftop, and he's going to be sitting there talking about, I'm sitting on top of this rooftop because an open fire is about to be created below me. I better get toasted. But anyways, we're moving on into the center of Kreminna, where we also saw a Ukrainian strike in the aftermath of it on the town.
Ну, в точку У, когда прилетел.
When you see this is a Russian supply yard, keep that in mind.
Пару недель назад. Вот. Так вот. Все. Вот такая вот воронка здесь. Вот здесь вот. Сюда.
Man, the Ukrainians tore this thing apart like someone eating Wendy's chili. This thing has been ripped, shredded.
Метров 300, наверное, вон там все разнесло. Вот. Ну и, соответственно, вот дом. Ну и в ближайших домах тоже все. Ничего нету.
And so with that, that's the end of the clip. But man, I gotta tell you, that's something impressive. So with that, we're now going to be moving on from Kreminna and past Bakhmut, of course, because we've already covered that news. And now we're moving on down into the area of Donetsk. Donetsk has been another day of uneventful front lines, but watching drone grenades drop on Russians. I guess you could say the Ukrainians are dropping it like it's hot. And while the grenade's not being dropped hot, I can tell you this, the Russians on the ground certainly warm up after it explodes on them. Oh man, it's that song. I've heard about the same songs watching these clips for a year now. There's like 5 of them, and they just use them over and over and over. And then the Russians have like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like the copyright-free music. Oh my God! Look at that! It's a full house over there. That's a dude. What do you call a trench that full? I call that a block party.
Man.
Good God. Oh my God, they're getting lined up too. They saw that trench and that drone went, hold up, and then just started reversing right onto him. Oh my God, there's not even room to move your arms around. The grenade drifted off course a little bit, or the drone moved quickly. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, we got right in the trench. Oh man. Someone call Tyson Meats. This is a shredded meat factory, but good God, man, they got ripped up. Like, that was something. I've never seen that many of them in a trench like that. And these guys just got, oh man, they just got screwed. There was no spacing in there. It was all a straight line too. So if any of the shrapnel missed the first few guys and they didn't absorb all of it, the other guys down the trench have gotten injured as well. So, dang. I guess you could say, Matthew, like Firewolf said, line them up, line them up.
Yes.
So with that, we're now going to be moving on from that clip, wild to see, and on down further in the Donetsk area, because y'all know it's not a day in Donetsk without another mutiny. So here's another mutiny from another unit today. We are the mobilized territorial defense of the Russian Federation. I want to report to you. I am Senior Lieutenant Name, refusing to carry out set objectives, please. Due to the fact that the platoon's personnel took losses within 3 days, in turn, because the personnel was not adequately trained but was sent to the front line bleed. Upon arriving in Donetsk, no one told us that we were located to the assault brigade of the DPR. First Army Corps, bleed. We were drafted to territorial defense in Belgorod Oblast, where we stayed until 1st or 2nd of March in the city of Shevchenko. We were transferred over there 14 hours within any orders, explanations, bleed. No reconnaissance expected for the officers. Nothing was done with us, bleed. Not a single written order was provided, bleed. Иди нахуй. Our documents were seized by God knows who. Half civilians, half military, PC. As I understand, they were local DPR militias. Military ADs were seized and still haven't returned after 5 days. We do not refuse to complete objectives, but only as part of Russian armed forces, please. We absolutely untrained were forced to assault a village. The average age is 40 years old. People of various age, various confessions and professions, but upon arriving, we were immediately forced to assault village. Without reconnaissance, without communication, without song, we are not bound to any settlements and have no maps. Generally speaking, it's some complete personnel is dying. That is why all of them left platoon have a whole company. Man. So with that, that's the end of the clip. And we can see that they're not having a fun time out there, and another unit has completely muted.
Who are the Russians complaining to? Like, what did they want anybody to do about this?
I don't know, and they're always voicing this stuff to Putin. It's like, please at Discord, please at the server admins, do not come straight to the server owner. It's like that. It's like, why in the world did they always appeal to Putin? These guys didn't appeal to anyone, though. They were just appealing to anybody out there, like the janitor at the gas station, like he's going to do something.
Yeah, really. Putin probably have him killed just for speaking out.
Yeah, apparently. Also, I've seen that the accent has caused some stirs. Some people are saying it's better read without. Some people are saying it's better read with. I don't know. We're keeping that one up, though, because accents are kind of fun for me to do and a little bit of a reprieve from the seriousness. So I'll probably just keep doing them. Hopefully it's not that bad. So with that, we're now moving on from the Donetsk area and on into Marinka, where we got some more footage showing what Marinka looks like. Probably the most damaged and devastated area of the battle, of the war, except for Mariupol, which is in as bad a state. We see them showing the town, and most of it's been completely flattened. You hear an artillery round flying in the distance and exploding near the guy, once again adding to the destruction and the leveling. And so, with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well, and we're now going to be moving on out of the area of Marinka and on into the area of Mariupol, because we actually got a picture showing the before and after of what Mariupol looked like before and what Mariupol looked like after. So, as you can see highlighted in these two pictures, this is the exact same little building. I don't know what it's for. Maybe it's a substation or something amongst these apartment buildings. You can see what it looked like before, and now you can see what it looks like today. Almost from the same position in that building. You can see that most of the buildings have been destroyed so badly that the Russians even had to tear them down, and nothing really exists in that area of Mariupol anymore. Very sad to see. And what's great, and I'm going on because there's so little to add to this. There's not really much to say. I guess the simplest thing to say is that the Russians will pay for this. And with that, we're now going to be moving on from Mariupol. So now moving on into Volodar, the battle still goes on in this area. The Russians still have not made any frontline movements, but the Ukrainians are smacking them around a little. Kind of like the Clown Motel. They're knocking them around a little. Actually, I'm sorry, correction here. This is an old video. Either it was filmed in June 3rd, or it was filmed on the 6th day of March. Probably not the 6th day of March. This has to be a European dating format, because they had not made it to Volodar by this point. So anyways, this is an old film that we haven't seen before, so it got included in the news today. But I didn't realize, I'll be honest on this one, while I said and knew that the other one in the north was an old film, for some reason I watched this clip and completely blotted out in my head the date that was visibly in front of my face. So it was actually included with the thought of this being new, but now seeing the date, this is old footage that we've never seen. So you see a group of Russian vehicles right here, where you see one slowly moving and another one coming up fast from the rear. You see the artillery hit the Russians. One of them catches on fire. When you hear the cheering and the celebrating in the background, when you hear someone coughing like Matthew, and with that scene in the clip, it's very nice to see that they were able to take out those vehicles whenever that was, whether it be June or March. We're now moving on to our second clip where we saw a Russian Kolomna on the fair. Looks like a lot of you liked the accent, bled. So we do it because we want to. So with it, let's watch clip. We hear nice Asian music playing. Is this cool?
I think it's actually copyright free. I've heard that on one of those channels before.
Hell, I'm not playing it, man. It may be copyrighted for some reason. We don't have license. But we can see whole column getting blown away by K2. Very nice, bled. Always like to see whole column get blown up like some kind of Michael Bay flick. We can see some backing up. But the Russian tanks have very slow backing speed, around 4 kilometers an hour. Not fast at all. Not fast enough to get away from Ukrainian lead bleed. We can now see them showing damage. Agent 86-8, we went Bullet bleed. Bullet is a tough one to do. But we can now see street where tanks were wiped out. Very nice. Very like. Speaking of which, hit like button. But yeah, they did take out a decent amount of APCs. We can see some of them still here on the drone footage. And then turning off Gaslight said, "Don't do accents, it's demeaning." Boo hoo hoo. Thank you for joining us on our side. Turning off the Gaslights. And we'll make sure to turn off a gaslight. Mine's been on for a little bit, and it's running out of oil. I'll have to replace it soon. Anyways, that's what we've seen in Volodar. Of course, no frontline movements as of today. The Ukrainians are still just beating them. And now moving on into Rarikiv, we also saw what Russian defensive positions looked like in the south. And we've seen that the front line has been so inactive in most areas that the Russians have literally been able to build the Hindenburg line in modern form. What the hell? What the hell is this mistake? This is stupid. Like, they've literally dug in some advanced, I'm going to say this for the Russians for once, advanced trench works. The anti-tank trench is way ahead of them. I don't know if these vehicles have been destroyed. It looks like they have been. But they had vehicles supporting their line. They have some pretty decent trenches. I mean, like, this is some pretty advanced stuff. It will probably take a little bit of effort to break through a single area like this. But man, I've got to say, pretty wild to see something like that. So with that, as you can see, that's the defense positions that the Russians have been able to set up over a year of inactivity in the Zaporizhia area. Of course, the Ukrainians will probably blow through it like nothing, but still fairly impressive from a trench digging perspective. And now moving on down into Kherson, we also saw a Russian tank get destroyed on the southern bank of the Dnipro River today by an Excalibur round from the other side. Yes, so let's watch this video. Let's be as demeaning as possible to Russian tank bleed. We can see Russian moving around in tree line. We can see it say, "Ne bych Erolsivka bleed." We can now see a Russian tank trying to get in tree. He said he can't see us here bleed. We can now see the Ukrainian ordering Papa John on his phone. He's calling in an airstrike. The tank gets hit dead on by Excalibur and turns into a nice petroleum fire. We can now see drone flying over. We don't know if tank crew made it out alive. But one thing we know is that Brigada will not be happy with loss. And we can see down there the Ukrainian victory. Slava the VSU, the Ukrainian Armed Forces. With that, it is in the clip. Very nice to see. Very happy to know that the Russians lost another T-72B tank down there in southern area. And with it, that is the end of news. We move on into speech from President Zelensky. I pray to God it's a long one, because I'm starving and I need to find food.
Oh no.
Oh God, it's only 3.5 minutes, bleed. Alright, we start off the speech. But Matthew, if I'm not back in time, just make sure to carry until I'm back. I should be back though in time. So with that, here is, without further ado, the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky on day 377 of the war.
Українці, українки, сьогодні в бою загинув Да Вінчі, герой України, доброволець, людина-символ, людина-хоробрість Дмитро Коцюбаєв, боєць 67-ї окремої механізованої бригади «Комбат», загинув в бою під Бахмутом, в бою за Україну. З 2014 року захищав нашу незалежність, гідність нашого народу. Один з наймолодших героїв України, один з тих, чия особиста історія, характер, сміливість навіки стали історією, характером і сміливістю України. Вже понад 9 років українські герої в жорстоких боях за державу виборюють майбутнє для України. Спокій і відносна безпека у тилових містах – це їхній подвиг. Наша впевненість у перемозі України – це їхня стійкість та сила. Україна завжди пам'ятатиме своїх героїв, наша пам'ять про них не згине. Згине цей ворог, що прийшов в Україну. 67-ма бригада, воїни, слава вашій хоробрості. Всі українці, хто б'ється за Бахмут, слава вашому героїзму. Дякую всім воїнам, чия стійкість і наполегливість знищують армію окупанта на Донбасі. Сьогодні відзначу за результати 10-ту окрему гірсько-штурмову бригаду, 56-ту окрему мотопіхотну, 93-ю і 54-ту окремі механізовані бригади. Слава вам, воїни! Морпіхи, 35-ки, десантники 79-ї десантно-штурмової бригади, 55-та артилерійська бригада, наші гармаші. Слава вам, воїни! Наші прикордонники, Нацгвардія, розвідка, сили безпеки, які діють на донбаських напрямках. Слава усім, хто дає результат Україні там, де тривають найжорсткіші битви. Кожному солдату, сержанту, офіцеру, генералу, які разом зі своїми бійцями в боях, слава! Робимо все, щоб якнайшвидше звільнити нашу землю, якнайшвидше поставити історичну крапку на намаганнях позбавити волі нашу державу і наших людей. Цій меті підпорядкована вся діяльність нашої держави, кожного і кожної, хто допомагає. Сьогодні я хочу знов подякувати усій нашій команді, яка займається обмінами. Буданов, Єрмак, Клименко, Усов, Лубінець. 130 воїнів вдалося повернути додому з російського полону. І всі 130 рядові і сержанти, армія, ВМС, Нацгвардія, прикордонники, інші частини сил оборони. Так само, як і про кожний куточок нашої країни, який перебуває в окупації, ми пам'ятаємо про кожну нашу людину, яка перебуває в російській неволі. Звільнимо усіх. Я дякую усім нашим бійцям на передовій, хто усвідомлює, наскільки важливо поповнювати обмінний фонд для нас, для України. Щоб не було, ми маємо вистояти. Щоб не було, маємо пам'ятати про всіх наших героїв. Слава усім українцям і українкам, хто зараз в бою. Вічна пам'ять усім, хто віддав життя за Україну. Слава Україні!
And so with that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 377 of the news of the war in Ukraine. And that wraps up our entire news segment for the night. I thank you all so much once again for watching. And if y'all did enjoy the news segment, please make sure to subscribe. And one thing I would love to make clear is some people think the entire 3 hours must be watched. We're about to be moving on into the question segment. While it's all one stream, it may as well be 2 separate streams beyond this point. The first part of the stream being the news. Second part, we talk to the live chat. And we also address all of the super chats that have been sent in that help make the news possible. And so you do not have to watch the entire thing. If you want, you can get off for the night, because the second part, you could watch it another time or completely go without watching, or you could watch this part and not watch the first part. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. But make sure to subscribe, make sure to like, make sure to comment, and also make sure to peep the Twitter.
Peep the Twitter. Yes, indeed.
I had to give Matthew some free room to say something about that. I was like, he would want to say something like that. Matthew would want y'all to peep the Twitter. That's what Matthew would have wanted. God rest his soul. I can still hear him to this day.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, Matthew, I heard that Bobcat had anthrax on it. I'm just kidding. But anyways, thank you all so much once again for watching. We're now moving into the question segment. And Agent 86 actually came up with it pretty well. Question and comedy hours coming up. Well, comedy hour hopefully was also in the first bit as well, because we always like to keep it light and have people laughing and enjoying, you know, the news instead of dreading it and crying about it, because there's really nothing that can change it. We just have to keep on persisting through the war. But with that, we're now moving on into the question segment. Before we get to any questions, though, we have to address the polls. So with that, Matthew, what do we got?
All right, and we've got 4 of them, 4 polls to go over. And the very first one says, Zelensky says Russia will have an open road to take Ukrainian cities if Bakhmut falls, and what are your thoughts? 30% said I agree. Bakhmut is crucial to Ukraine. 28% said I disagree. Bakhmut is not crucial. 27% said I'll take his word for it. And 15% said unsure. And I have to say, I support Ukraine 100%. Basically, everything they do, I support it. They're fighting for their freedom, and that's a noble cause by nature. But I will have to say, this is one of the first things I completely disagree with Zelensky on. I don't think that Bakhmut is crucial whatsoever, and it seems that it has suddenly turned crucial now that it's become symbolic. So I'm going to go with the 28%. I completely disagree. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say I disagree for the most part. The reason being is that the Battle of Bakhmut has never been a strategic battle. Well, a strategic battle in the sense that the land it's on is strategic. The amount of losses that the Russians have been taking, that point of holding a town, is a strategic purpose. But it's not in the same aspect as the Russians taking the town and using the town itself for strategic reasons. I would have to largely disagree with them over that, because on top of that, a thing that a lot of y'all like to tell me about, which is the Institute for the Study of War, put out a post today, and I'll have to find it, about Bakhmut, and they said something along the lines of Bakhmut has no real strategic pertinence or necessity to it. I think I actually saw that on Twitter, so let's peep the Twitter real quick, and let me go see if I can find it.
And the U.S. has also said that it's not crucial either. Basically, everyone said that, which is why it's sort of baffling to me.
Let's see. So let's look. Where the hell is it? Let me just go pull up the ISW here. Institute Study of War. There we go. And they put out something today. Would provide Russian. Let's see. Here we go. Russians lack the capability to exploit the tactical capture of Bakhmut and would likely rapidly culminate following its capture. And then there was another post they put out about Bakhmut today. Let me see if I can find it. Russian forces conducted limited attacks along the Kupiansk-Fitove-Kremenna line on March 7th. Geolocated footage depicting Russian forces storming and capturing indicates limited Russian advances. And then there was another one. Here we go. Let's see. Russian forces, eastern part of Bakhmut. Dang, they put out a load of these. I keep on saying here's the one, but it's not the one. Let's see. Great forces heavily fortified. Dangnabbit. Let's see. They said something today. Also around the Donetsk Oblast, we want to find Bakhmut. Dude, man, the Institute for the Study of War, they put out just about 1 million tweets an hour. I mean, like, dang, it's quite a read. I saw this just a few hours ago too, and I was like, oh, I'll remember that if it needs to be brought up. See here, 1 out of 7. Let's see.
And what are you looking for again?
Here we go. Ukraine will continue to defend Bakhmut for now. While Bakhmut itself isn't intrinsically important, operational, or strategically, Ukraine's fight for it has become strategically significant due to the current composition of Russian forces there. So, as you can see, the Institute for the Study of War, just in case if anyone ever wanted an authoritative source, although we usually don't use a lot of authoritative sources. But on this one, considering that the narrative is changing now from it's not important to it is important, there is the Institute for the Study of War. A lot of people accredit them with a lot of knowledge and information. I have to say they were dead on the nail in the first days of the war. They were saying the exact same things I was on my channel. And, both the ISW and I ended up being right, while everyone else was saying the Russians would steamroll the Ukrainians and take Kyiv. So you can see right there, they're still saying the town itself has no strategic value beyond controlling the town. It is not really a highway to Kramatorsk or Slavyansk like everyone thinks. They're already on that highway. Like let's look at Deep State right here. Because everyone's saying, oh no, if they take Bakhmut, they'll be on the M03 going straight to Slavyansk. They already are. I mean, they're already on the highway. They've taken the entire length of it. And if they wanted to, it would be a little dangerous, but they could start moving supplies straight up this highway and start moving forces on down the highway to Slavyansk right now. They don't actually have to take Bakhmut anymore to do that. And then there's, I believe, some small roads, like here, for example, that start leading directly into Kramatorsk. So, it's not really like you have to take the town of Bakhmut, because the town of Bakhmut only leads from where the Russians control now to Konstantinivka, which is the long way around to getting to Kramatorsk. You can make it a lot faster just going up the M03 to Slavyansk. So,
what? Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Also, what does that really say about the defenses behind Bakhmut? Because if he's saying that if Bakhmut falls, then they'll have an open road, is he not confident in the defenses behind Bakhmut?
I don't really know. I would feel like I would be fairly certain about them, because there's a lot of ridge lines that move, I guess you could say, east to west instead of north to south, like in the Svatove direction. And we can see that those, I guess you could say, ridge lines at all, for that matter, not depending on their direction, are incredibly important in making defensive positions, and this area is filled with them. Like, especially compared to the rest of Ukraine, where you can see it's almost perfectly flat. This area is filled with hills. So we know that they have some very good defensible positions back there, and it's probably not going to mean a lot if they did lose the town of Bakhmut. I still think it has no strategic value. It has value in grinding down Russian forces. That's its strategic purpose, but there is no strategic benefit to the Russians actually capturing this town, in my opinion. And also the Institute for the Study of War backs that up.
And also, I see a lot of folks saying that Bakhmut's being used as a killing field. And that is what Zelensky said earlier today in an interview. He said that one of the goals was to grind down the Russians. But the only catch is this, though. We don't know what Ukrainian losses really are. They haven't released a casualty report. So if the losses are pretty close to what the Russians are, or somewhat close to it, I'm not sure where the benefit is in that, because both sides are taking heavy losses, according to Ukrainian commanders.
And I would agree. It would probably be very important to know what kind of losses are being taken there. But still, just addressing the poll, I would say that Bakhmut doesn't. I would say for the strategic purpose of grinding down Russian forces, it does hold value. In terms of the town being a stepping stone to moving further into Donetsk, and the town itself having any kind of strategic value in the way Russians can maneuver in the field, I would say no. So with that, I hope that addresses that poll fairly well, and we're on to the next one.
All right. And our next poll says, NATO officials say Russia has lost 5 times as many soldiers as Ukraine in Bakhmut. And what are your thoughts? 81% said I'm not surprised, it's expected. 6% said unsure. 7% said I need a Ukraine casualty report. And 6% said that likely is slightly exaggerated. And on this one, I would really like to see a Ukrainian casualty report because that is coming from NATO and not from Ukraine. And I'd prefer to hear it directly from the source. But Enforcer, what say you?
Well, in a week you'll have Millie coming out going, the Ukrainians have taken well over 20 million casualties, and just coming up with something out of the blue. So I don't know, because a lot of Western sources just kind of change the numbers. Sometimes they're higher than the last time. Sometimes they're even lower than the last time. So I don't know how to take it. I would say take it with a grain of salt, because we don't really know. And also there's no official numbers. So with that, I hope that does address that poll fairly well. And we're on to the next one.
All right. And our next poll says, Germany says that NATO needs to decide on a permanent force to protect the Baltics. And what are your thoughts? 71% said true, permanent force is needed. 8% said unsure. 17% said it wouldn't hurt to do so. And 4% said permanent forces are not needed. And I'm with the 17% that say it wouldn't hurt to do so. Although I'm pretty confident that if NATO needed to scrounge up some troops real quick to head out to go tend to something over there, they could probably do it. But it doesn't hurt to have them already there. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say, reread the line, reread the prompt real quick, so that way I can hear it again and coalesce a thought well.
And the prompt was, Germany says NATO needs to decide on permanent force to protect the Baltics, and what are your thoughts?
I would say yes. I would say permanent forces do need to be in the Baltics. I would say it'd be very important for the United States to set up bases there. I believe we already have some. Let me pull up U.S. overseas bases. List of United States military bases. Let's look at the map. Oh, buddy. We have some in Estonia and Lithuania, but none in Latvia. So really all we need is Latvia, because there are already permanent forces in Estonia by the United States, which is a NATO member. So that means that NATO forces are permanently in Estonia. There are also some in Latvia, but there's none in, there's some in Lithuania, but none in Latvia. So we need to get the Latvians on board and have some U.S. bases there. I mean, oddly enough, man, the U.S. bases, everyone always says, oh, U.S. bases are everywhere. This map doesn't really show that, though.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
It's kind of shocking, actually.
Yeah, there's not, there's a lot of bases, sure, but they're not in a lot of places. I mean, they're not even in most of Europe. They're like in Poland, Germany, the UK, Spain. France actually kicked us out. Did you know that?
Wait, France kicked us out?
Yeah, back in 1955, Charles de Gaulle, who was a hero in the Second World War, said, no Americans in this country. And then he just kicked out every foreign nation that had a base there. And so there is no foreign bases in France. It's only French bases in the French military.
Well, he sounded kind and accommodating.
He was very kind, and then some protesters did some things, and he said, I put them down with iron fist and make a new government. It's like, okay. Charles de Gaulle is actually the reason why the president holds supreme power in France, even against the National Assembly. Like in the U.S., there's checks and balances where the Congress can overdo the president can overdo the Congress. In France, the president is really just the final say. Like, the National Assembly can say whatever they want, but if the president says that something will be done, the president gets what he wants done. And that's due to Charles de Gaulle and setting up, I believe it's the Fourth Republic. So with that, I hope that addresses why there isn't any forces in France, but there are forces in pretty much every other major NATO country, except for the Balkans for the most part. But with that, we are on to the next one. And I hope we addressed that poll fairly well, because it seems they're already there. It's just that Latvia is the one who doesn't have anyone there. So with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. And the next poll, which is the last one, says North Korea says it will declare war against the U.S. if a missile is shot down. And what are your thoughts? And pretty interesting, the threat here was not made by Kim Jong-un, who's the leader. It was made by his sister. And many speculate that she might be next in line for leadership in North Korea. So kind of interesting in that fact. But it looks like 9% said the U.S. is unnecessarily provoking North Korea. 14% said unsure. 71% said North Korea really can't do anything. And 7% said North Korea might have a nuke or might invade South Korea, and that's bad. And on this one, I'm honestly going to say unsure because it is possible that North Korea does try to invade South Korea, which would start a very bad situation. North Korea is pretty impoverished. They're pretty low on equipment and supplies, but that doesn't mean they can't start a war on their little piece of land right there with South Korea. So with these large military drills coming up that the U.S. is going to be starting next week, that could provoke something, but North Korea is always trying to say that something's going to happen, and it really doesn't. So there's really no way to tell until the exercises start. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say, what are they going to do? If we shoot down their nuclear missile, and they're saying this, if we try and shoot a nuclear missile and y'all shoot it down, we're going to shoot a nuclear missile at y'all and it's going to hit. Why wouldn't we just shoot down the next one?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You know, like if you're shooting down the first one, obviously you could shoot down any of them. So why the hell would the second one actually make it to us? Wouldn't we just shoot that one down too?
Maybe.
And you know, and then Matthew Safidi, Safidi, if I'm saying your name correctly, sorry if I'm not. He said North Korea crazy enough to do one nuke to South Korea. But here's the thing, though: if we are able, and that would be a short range missile, that wouldn't even be intermediate. That would be just short range. If we can shoot down a intermediate range missile that's probably going to be launched into the Sea of Japan or over Japan, why in the world would we not be able to shoot down a short-range nuclear weapon or a missile? I feel like we would be able to shoot that down. Hell, if we could shoot down one of them, we could shoot down any of them, and that's actually what the Patriot system was kind of made to do. At least the PAC-3 variants of the missile was to be able to shoot down nuclear weapons from rogue countries like North Korea. And we have Patriots.
How many nukes does North Korea claim they have?
I think they have like 8 or 9 of them, so it's an incredibly small number. Let's see how many nukes does North Korea have? About 20 actually, according to 2023 figures, about 20.
Interesting. So 20 of them. So if we can take that as fact, because obviously nobody can really confirm that. I don't think they can. I mean, it's enough to cause damage, but I don't think they can reach as far as our more sophisticated ones.
But what kind of nuclear weapons are they? Are they all short range? Are they intermediate? I know they have an intercontinental ballistic missile, but I don't know if that's like the norm. So they don't give us a lot of information on this crap, which is kind of expected. It is North Korea. But dang it, I just wish we could find. All right, so according to the information, the Hwasong 15, Hwasong has
Hwasong.
Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Jimmy's mom. Can I have a croissant? It shoots a Hwasong at him. But anyways, the Hwasong has a range of 13,000 kilometers. So it's an intercontinental, and it can reach practically anywhere in the world, except for the most southern parts of South Africa. And also South America. It can't hit South America at all. But beyond that, it can hit the entirety of the continental United States. The Hwasong 14 can also hit most of the United States. These missiles, however, the ones in orange, those certainly could be intercepted and shot down by Patriots. And if Patriots were close enough to the Korean border when these nuclear weapons were launched, and the nuclear launch sites were close enough to the border, it could hypothetically be assumed that the Patriots could also shoot down intercontinental ballistic missiles while they're launching. But at the same time, that's a little bit of an if, because if it misses, then that thing is only about 15 minutes away from hitting the United States and probably killing hundreds of thousands of people. So with that in mind, I wouldn't really consider it that much of a threat, really, because most of them we could easily shoot down. There's only 2 of them that we might have a difficulty shooting down, and the question is, would they really use them? Because, you know, they have such a limited number of them, they can't even destroy most of the United States. They can't even destroy really the western seaboard, you know, at all. They'd probably be able to get like 30% of the western seaboard, that's it. Maybe less than that. And I know that sounds a little crass, but when you really think about it, it's not like a situation with Russia where they have thousands of them and we have thousands of them, and even if thousands of them don't work and they just have a couple of hundred that work, a couple of hundred's enough to wipe us off the face of the earth. With the Koreans, they have 20, just about. And out of all those, most of them aren't even long enough range to hit America, so maybe only 1 or 2 of them could. But anyways, I hope we address that fairly.
You know, one thing I worry about is not necessarily about North Korea. I wonder, though, because there's so much instability in so many different regions right now with the Russia-Ukraine war going on, China and Taiwan. I'm worried that maybe one of these little instances here, like, for example, between North Korea, South Korea, and the United States, might be the match that's thrown into the gas-filled room that eventually causes something much larger to break out. But there's no telling. But that's what I wonder about.
This stuff on the Korean Peninsula has been going on for, hell, you know, decades at this point. Well, the nuclear thing's only been going on for about the last decade. But, you know, if you remember the last the last few years, remember we went through the whole thing where we thought we were going to war with them with the whole fire and fury, the likes of which the world had never seen, and then the Koreans saying we're going to get you. We really are this time. We've seen a whole lot. We've seen and heard a whole lot from the North Koreans. They never really follow through. They probably don't have the ability to follow through. And also, I was just reading on Wikipedia, it's unknown whether their intercontinental ballistic missiles can survive re-entry because they've never re-entered the atmosphere and have been tested that way. So it may be that the shielding on these warheads fail, and then it just spreads radioactive material in the higher areas of the atmosphere. Anything could happen. But anyways, I hope we addressed that poll fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
And that was our last poll. So, y'all know what time it is. It's time to move on to our super chat questions. And also, see you tomorrow. Turning off your gas lights. I was about to type it, but got a little tied up. But good night to you. Also, our first super chat goes to I Am by Rocker, who puts in a $50 donation. And thank you very much for that. And he says, thanks again, Enforcer Brothers, for all that you do. The fundraising is amazing, and can't wait for us to hit the million mark. And do you think this war will be Putin's Waterloo?
I think it will be Putin's Waterloo. I am Bayraktar, and thank you so much for the support. I do think it will be Putin's Waterloo because this appears to be the failure that you can't recover from, especially with the amount of losses that they've taken for what they're doing in Ukraine, which is really nothing at all. So I will definitely agree. It will be Putin's Waterloo. Also, I have to thank you so much for enjoying everything we do, enjoying our fundraisers, respecting how much has been raised, and appreciating what the Lee Spring Army is about, because we put in the maximum amount of effort into making sure that the Lee Spring Army is an enjoyable place filled with very nice people. We also put in a lot of effort to make sure that this show comes on every single night, which in and of itself is kind of a miracle, because it's really crazy to think, man, that we run this thing 6 days a week without fail somehow. And I really don't understand sometimes how I'm doing it. Like right now, I have like 3 essays I'm writing in the background, and also college work and going to college while doing this. And somehow this thing is still running 6 days a week, and it's just all coming together and working. So I have no idea. But I got to thank you so much for enjoying that and also supporting us so that way we can keep on doing it, because your support, which is incredibly generous, and I thank you so much for it, is helping us to keep this thing rolling, helping us to keep working behind the scenes. It's helping me to pay for gas, because I had to get gas this morning, and it was $58 for a tank. And I've got to thank you so much for that.
Gas. I got to step on the gas.
Yeah, I got to thank you so much for that, because that will definitely help me to get another tank of gas for the next week of school. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope I addressed that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much for helping this channel to keep on running.
All right, and up next, we have a $40 super chat from Al Capone. He's back once again.
Hey,
thank you very much,
Snorky.
Al, for the support. And Al says, as promised, 20 for each. Bobcat equals $10 tip. Nice.
Why, thank you so much for the support, Snorky. I have a Tommy gun behind me. It's the kind of gun you like, isn't it, Al? But anyways, I thank you so much once again for the support. And I've got to say, it means a lot to us that folks support us and help us keep this thing running, because it's crazy to think, because we actually got an email. Well, I got an email on the channel email just last week from a sponsor, and they were offering a sponsorship for this channel. And of course, we turned it down for now because, well, turned it down, not just for now, but turned it down because our channel runs off of viewer support. We don't have to rely on sponsors. We don't have to be sponsor friendly. We don't run ads. So everything's an ad-free experience except for the normal videos, and those rarely ever get made. And we run ads on those because otherwise YouTube doesn't like to promote them, which is a jerk move. But, I guess we have to work with YouTube and what they do. But anyways, y'all help this channel to remain ad-free, and y'all help us to keep doing everything behind the scenes that we do without having to be subservient to sponsors or anything like nothing. Not that there's anything wrong with sponsors. It's just that whenever you have sponsors, you have to be sponsor friendly, or you have to start molding your channel into the personality of that sponsor. Not to list any, but I'm sure that that certain channels that act or behave or think certain ways on YouTube always end up getting the same kind of sponsors, if you know what I'm talking about, Matthew.
Yeah, you end up having to say hello to your friends.
Yeah, hello to my little friend. But I got to thank you so much for that, Iron by Rocktar, because y'all help us to keep doing that. And without y'all support, it wouldn't be possible. And so I got to thank y'all so much once again for y'all support. And what's crazy is that we've never even had to ask. I actually saw a channel that had to start asking for support because they're in some financial hard times. And what's been crazy to me is that over a year and several weeks now, we haven't had to, ask for anyone for support. We haven't had to go, help us, we're sinking. Y'all just support us so that way we can keep this thing running without a question asked. And I got to thank y'all so much for y'all's kind generosity, because it really blows Matthew and me away, both in the fundraisers and also in the support y'all give us to help this thing going behind the scenes. And also, before we move on to the next one, I am by Rocktar, I'm going to answer 2 questions from the live chat. Philip Fixes says, happy belated birthday. And I did have a birthday. I'm not going to say when it was, but I did turn 21 at some point. Secret. I will be having an official birthday for the channel in the summer. It's not going to be the channel birthday. It's not going to be my real birthday, but we'll have like a birthday for me in the summer, probably in June. And also, Certain Def asked, what did you snack on during the speech? Well, if you've ever been to Costco, you'll know about these little, like, roll things that have, like, lettuce and ham and, well, I think it's turkey, actually, and, like, tomato in them and some kind of sauce. I had 3 of those things and I was shoveling them. Like, I had to shovel them. I only had 3 minutes, and somehow I got them all down and drank a bottle of water in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So with that, I hope that addresses those 2 questions fairly well, and we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support, I am by Rocktar.
All right, and yes, thank you very much for the support, Al Capone. And
oh yeah, wait a minute, why in the world did I think it was I am by Rocktar? I went back to the last one. Sorry, Al Capone, I'm so sorry for that. But thank you once again for the support, Al Capone. I don't know what happened in my head. I had a glitch, and for some reason I still thought we were on I am by Rocktars. But thank you so much for the support, and also adding in the 10 for the Bobcat. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, JB asked in the live chat, what does the verified check do for you guys on Twitter? Jay, absolutely nothing, but it sure does make me feel good when I log into Twitter, though. but anyways.
It makes us look legit. It makes us look too legit to quit.
Yes. Somebody's gonna be like, "You paid $8 for that blue check mark." Yes, I did. I have no shame in it whatsoever.
Well, actually, I paid for it. So I paid for it.
Okay, the enforcer paid for the blue check mark. He paid $8.
Matty came running into my room. He was like, "Give me your card. I got to get the verified check." And I was like, "Okay, here you go." So then and then he sits there and goes, "I paid for it." And I'm like, "What? That's my $8." But anyways, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Jose Ruano, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you, Jose, for the support and also for being around for a very long time. He says, have you guys seen the Sucho Mimus evidence of the new long-range Vilka rocket guided by GPS? And do you think that Ukraine is using them to reach those targets well beyond HIMARS capabilities, or you think it's a different system?
Well, I got to thank you so much for the support, I am by Rocktar. I'm just kidding, Jose. But I thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep running. I don't believe I've actually seen that particular weapon that you're talking about. I have seen some people saying that a Ukrainian homemade missile may be helping them to reach the targets, and they've shown some pictures. But reread the name of the weapon again, Matthew, because I think that may actually be the one.
The Vilka rocket guided by GPS?
The Vilka? Yes, that is the one, actually. That's the one that I saw earlier. Some people are saying that that's the one that's reaching that far. So I would say, yeah, I mean, like, that may be what's reaching these targets and hitting them. Also, what the hell, Ron? Like, that what the hell? Anyways, I hope that does address that fairly well, Jose, and I thank you so much once again for support, because that may be the one that is reaching those targets and hitting them, because it is Ukrainian homemade. They do have ability to produce them, and with that, I hope that answers the question fairly well. Thank you so much once again for the support, and we are on to the next one. Also, Arrowette Martel just found out how old I am.
Somebody else just found out how old I was too. They were dumbfounded.
it's always so crazy because, you know, we would have never gotten haters, you know, like we have, who sit there and go, "Oh, this kid's only 20 or 21 or something. He doesn't know crap." We would have never gotten those people if we had never stated our age, because they would think we're in our late 20s or mid 30s or something, you know. But, you know, it is what it is. We want to be transparent. We're not going to sit there and make y'all think, "Oh, I'm a combat veteran, and I am 30 or something like that. We were not. I'm just a college student who read a lot of history, read a lot about the Ukraine war before it started. Well, the Donbass conflict and the annexation of Crimea before this whole war started. So, you know, I just ran the channel. I'm only 21. So with that, we are on to the next one. And I hope we addressed that fairly well, Jose. And thank you so much once again for the support.
All right. Dang, Casey. Casey said 8 to 10 more years before things start going down, so enjoy them. Oh my God.
Well, thank you for the optimism, Casey.
That's a bad outlook on life, man. My goodness. Hopefully things are going up, 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 but you never know. But up next, we have a $20 super chat from Zenkuya. Zenkuya, or something like that, who says, I am Bliat, man.
Bliat. Here's the Bliat, man. Bliat. Ugh, Bliat, you sucky. He Bliat, man. Today I show you how to cook shibboleth, Bliat. But still, thank you so much once again for the support. And thank you for being the Bliat, man. Shibboleth. Sucky, Bliat. And so with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support. And thank you for sharing that with us. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a $20 super chat from I don't know, who says, thank you for your excellent coverage of this horrendous war and peace for Ukraine.
And thank you so much for supporting us. So that way we can keep on doing this coverage of the war. And also, Slava Ukraini. And with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. Thank you so much once again for the kind words. The kind words do mean a lot. We don't really get to harp on kind words much anymore. But it does mean a lot to us because support's great. And of course, it helps us to keep this thing running behind the scenes and helps us to keep ad-free, sponsor-free, all that stuff. You know, all that stuff, the whole spill. But it means a lot to us when people just say they enjoy the channel because in the world of the internet, in the world, and of course in normal human nature, which we'll get to in a second, but that's the second part. In the internet, there are people who either love what you do or they hate what you do. And the people who hate what you do, if those are the only voices you hear, it can bring you down. And it's always great to hear people who do enjoy what we do. Obviously, a lot of y'all must enjoy what we do because 5,000 of y'all are here in the question segment right now. But I got to thank y'all all so much for always saying good things about this channel and enjoying it, because it means a lot to us that people really do enjoy it and want to let us know that they like it and they want to keep going, because it just means a lot to us. It makes us feel good. It makes us feel like we're doing something worthwhile and we're actually helping out in a meaningful way. So I got to thank you so much once again for those kind words, and I've got to thank you so much for the support as well. And once again, Slava Ukraini. And with that, we're on to the next one. I hope we addressed that fairly well.
All right, and up next, we have a $20 super chat from Jesse Glenn, who says, Seymour Hirsch, the historic whistleblower who broke the story at the My Lai massacre in Vietnam, published recently that the Nord Stream was carried out by Western countries in top secret, and his track record is nearly flawless.
And let me, what was his name again? Because I think we've looked at him.
We have. And also, thank you, Jesse, for the support, by the way. And the name was Seymour Hirsch.
Seymour and Mound. Matthew will know that one. I don't think anyone else will know. But anyways, Seymour Hirsch. Let me scroll down to all of his predictions. So let's see here. So, and I thank you for the support. While you say he has a flawless track record on his predictions, this one here, about Iran, is one that is based in almost no reality whatsoever and throws in a lot of questions for me whether he has any sense or not. Because he says that the presidency that was in charge, well, really the government, forgetting the presidency, the government who was in charge at the time during 2006 to 2007 had plans to use nuclear munitions on the Iranians to destroy nuclear enrichment materials and also facilities. That is based in no reality because our nuclear doctrine is entirely retaliatory. We cannot use nuclear weapons preemptively. They have to be used in response to nuclear weapons being used on us. And so the idea of that doctrine just ceasing to exist and we just use nuclear weapons, which are against any normal convention of war, to start off a preemptive strike seems a little odd to me. And so let's move on to this one, the Iran and Abu Ghraib. So let's see the claim. Let's see. The story title was accompanied, now infamous Iran wearing black point hood. Short piece appeared 2 days earlier. Let's see. What the hell kind of story is this? Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to read this one. Article claimed by Iraqi insurgency. Book link. Let's see. In 2003, Hirsch argued the claim that Saddam Hussein's alleged stockpile of weapons of mass destruction justified an invasion, and presented evidence that top Bush administration officials were ignoring facts that did not benefit their belief that Saddam Hussein was connected to terrorism. So here's something interesting here, because, trying to read through all that, and then you get to the top, and it's just kind of a synopsis of the whole thing. He argued that, let's see, he argued against, let's see, this one actually is a little weird, because, he sits there and says it doesn't justify an invasion, and then the rest of the article is about the torture of prisoners. So I don't really know what to take of this one, but he was kind of right there by saying that, there were no weapons of mass destruction, such and such, y'all know the whole spill, y'all been around. Let's see, the Syrian Civil War, let's see, during the article, cited an alleged top-secret cable, and part of Syrian, the U.S. censor system detected at a government depot, totally unacceptable. Wait, hang on. This one's interesting right here, because the story on this one, much like the one on Ukraine, comes after the fact. It's like a whistleblower going, "Oh, look, we knew about this whole disaster that was going to happen beforehand, but we're only going to tell you all about the information I had before the attack, after the attack," and then come up with all this stuff about alleged top secret cables and stuff like that. And I don't know. Like, the guy got one thing right on Iraq, and he got one thing right on Melee, but the rest of it, let's see. Wait, hang on. Let me see this one. Hirsch commented that the U.S. accounts on the May 2nd, 2011, on the raid in Pakistan, which killed Osama bin Laden, was one big lie. Not one word of it was true. He stated that both the the administration in charge and Pakistan had lied about the event, and that the American media outlets were reluctant to challenge the administration, saying it's pathetic. They are more than obsequious. I've never seen that word before, and they were afraid to pick on this guy. Let's see, what's published in the official account. Let's see, Hirsch anonymous sources. Let's see here, that his location, the Pakistani military had knowledge of the operation, and that. So is he denying that they killed Osama bin Laden? Because I'm trying to read this as quick as possible.
Sounds like it.
It kind of sounds like it. And if he's denying that, they literally took pictures of his dead corpse and then dropped it off in the ocean on an aircraft carrier that the helicopters returned to. So, I don't know about that. And then here's the Nord Stream thing.
Although in the Nord Stream one, I wouldn't totally write that one off, because it kind of has the appearance that the U.S. is kind of propagating a far-fetched story. So that's a little bit of a red flag.
Yeah, but we read this one. This one is so far-fetched because it has way too much detail. It's like the guy literally was there, and he's not even there. He's able to sit there and say, so-and-so paced around the room in a circle, and then put his finger in his hair and twisted around in a strand of it for a little while. It's like, that's a little too detailed. That's like almost you're trying to write not a fictional book about the situation. So, I don't know. Like, I thank you for the support, and we have looked at this guy before, but I don't know. That some of like he got Iraq right, he got Milei right, but with the other things like a preemptive nuclear strike on Iran, that's just crazy, in my opinion, because our doctrine doesn't even call for that, so there's no way to justify that. And now, why, think about this. Why the hell would any presidency use nuclear weapons on a foreign country in a preemptive strike when the U.S. public is so against nuclear weapons at all, or the use of them? That would have killed the popularity of that administration and ensured that they would have practically been impeached, because they would have called that a crime against humanity for the most part. So I don't like that one right there. That one doesn't make any sense from a re-election perspective or a popularity perspective in America, considering the stigma around nuclear weapons. And on top of that, it's not even in our doctrine like that.
So I see a lot of folks saying he has dementia. I'm not sure how long he's had it, but apparently he has it now, according to the chat.
Well, I mean, some of his stories seem to make some sense. Some of them, though, don't. The Milei one, though, I will say he did get that right. That's the whole reason why he became popular. But just because he got the one thing right doesn't mean that he's like the messiah. He's gotten a decent amount of things wrong, in my opinion. But with that, I do thank you for the support, and I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a $20 super chat from Marion Deemer, who says, "May your pizzas taste good. Hugs and things."
And thank you so much, Marion, for the support. And hopefully our pizzas will taste good. We had pulled pork sandwiches tonight. Oh man, they were really good. And fried green tomatoes with Alabama white sauce. Oh my gosh, are you talking about good? That was a good supper. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well, Marion, and we will make sure that those pizzas stay tasty. And thank you once again for helping this channel to keep on running. Also, big hugs. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat goes to Bradley Walker, who puts in a $16 donation. He says, "There's an excellent interview with Ukrainian combat pilot Juice, who makes a good case for why they need F-16s. Also discusses Ukraine and Russian air operations on YouTube channel, and he gives me it in, it looks like, Ukrainian, it looks like."
And thank you for the support. And we would love to look at Juice, because we always are talking about videos are absolute juice. But sad, let's see. Let's actually try and pull that one up real quick. So what's it called?
It's called the YouTube channel?
Yes.
Let's see. I'll have to forward it over to you because it's in Ukrainian.
Aw, dagnabbit.
Now it's in your DMs.
It's in my DMs. Could you send it through the live chat?
There you go.
Let me see here. Let's see. There it is. We take that, copy, paste it, click enter. Holy moly. So let's see here. Bop. Sadly, I can't find it because all the titles and all the videos are in Ukrainian. So, oh dang, that's an hour and 31 minute long video too. So sadly, I would love to watch it, but it seems to be a little too long to watch it on stream. So I'll try and watch some of the clips after stream. But thank you once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well, and we will look at it. We already know the advantages of having F-16s in Ukraine, but it'd always be interesting to hear about it from a guy whose call sign is Juice. That guy must have been into the gin and juice, if you know what I mean. Also, before we move on to the next one, someone asked, let's see, Fuyuma said, "What is white sauce? Mayonnaise?" No,
it's like, I was asking about that.
It's like a vinegar. It's like a vinegary based sauce. I don't really know how to describe it, but if you ever try it, it's delicious. You must try it. So with that,
I don't know what's in it either, but it's good. Like I didn't know about it before I ate at Full Moon Barbecue, but man, really delicious. Goes great on fried green tomatoes.
Let's see, what is Alabama white sauce? It's a barbecue sauce made primarily of mayonnaise, vinegar, and spices. So that's what it is.
It's not nasty like it sounds. It's actually really good.
Oh, it's delicious. It's unbelievably good. And so with that, I hope we answered that question fairly well. And also, thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have an $11 super chat from White Lightning 777, who says, should the Abrams tank domestic with depleted uranium be declassified? That way, all Abrams tanks could be exported to Ukraine. Currently, they're top secret with no export.
I would say they should not be declassified because that's a national security risk. It's fine to send the Ukrainians Abrams without the depleted uranium inside of them, put in some other kind of, I guess you could say, composite armor. It is not good to go and declassify the main armor of most of our armored fleet, because then that gives the enemy exact know-how and knowledge of how weak or how strong our tanks are and what do they need to do to punch right through them. So I would say not to do that, because that could end up putting the United States at a severe disadvantage into the future. But with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well, and thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. Once again, take my question with a grain, well, take my answer with a grain of salt, because I might be right, might be wrong. I just think that national security is very important. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $10 super chat from Dupper Bob, who says, Slava Ukraine. And here I'm Slava to you, Dupper.
And Dupper, Slava Ukraine. And thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because without folks like you, Dupper, it wouldn't run, and you never miss a night of helping this channel to keep running too. And so with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for helping this thing to keep on running. You know what I mean?
And the next one. The next one goes to Sean Tiz, who puts in a 10 and says something in Ukrainian, Alexander Erofovich.
And thank you for the support. Sadly, Matthew cannot read Ukrainian, but I do thank you for helping this channel to keep on running. And also, Slava Ukraine.
There it is in the live chat. I think you might be talking about the Ukrainian soldier that was lost today, the guy that goes by Da Vinci.
Oh, that just means glory. Like, you know, Slava Ukraini. That's how it's written. Slava. Because the little weird looking symbol right after the C is an L, and then that B is a V. So it's Slava. But still, thank you so much once again for the support. And of course, that unfortunate guy, hopefully he'll be avenged in the future by his comrades. And so, thank you once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $10 super chat from that guy. Yes, I'm that guy, pal. I just looked it up. Heliox is used by commercial divers to 300 meters.
Heliox? Heliox?
It's a mixture of helium and some other gas. It makes you be able to breathe at depth, I think.
Heliox for divers? An appropriate mixture of helium and oxygen for saturation diving. Saturation divers need mixtures of helium and oxygen, Heliox, to breathe and work at depths, usually up to more than 200 feet below sea level for long periods of time. Synthetic air can be used for recreational scuba diving. So, what we get from this is that it helps to get below that level where they can work on the pipeline. And so with that, I don't know why I'm talking like that. I just decided. Anyways, I thank you so much for the support and sharing this with us. I think we actually brought this up earlier in stream because a lot of people were talking about Heliox when we were talking about the divers. And it appears that it does help to be able to get down to that depth and get the job done. And so with that...
It also changes your voice, too, because it has helium in it.
Hi, Jimmy's mom. Can I have one of those croissants? Hi, North Korea. I see you're working on a brand new croissant. But anyways, with that, thank you so much once again for sharing that information with us. And with that, we're going to be moving on to the next one. And thank you for helping this channel to keep on running, and also for allowing us to have a better understanding of what divers can and can't do. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a $10 super chat from Adrian Bugarin, who says, I just read a news article about how an intelligence report suggests that the Nord Stream gas pipeline was actually blown up by a pro-Ukrainian group, and have you read anything about it? And also, I think this super chat was sent in before we went on the rant, because he's not trying to be sarcastic, I don't think.
And funnily enough, we did talk about that in great depth. So... yes, we did hear about it, and we actually covered that in tonight's news. So if that was thrown in after, you may have missed it. It is in the news. And if that was thrown in before, I hope we addressed it fairly well. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope we did address that question fairly well earlier on in the news segment. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you for helping this channel to keep on running. And I got to try it, Matthew. George Robertes said, talk like the rat. Hiya, guys. But anyways, we're on to the next one. Hopefully that wasn't that bad. We'll see what happens in the live chat.
That's the sound of the Disney lawyers on their jet on the way here.
Wait, no, wait, Matthew. 1 second. Let me go get it real quick. Here we go. Let me try and get a quick one here. Yeah, here we go. Quick, he did the thing. Get in the jet now.
Like doing a Tom Cruise, like hanging onto the outside of the plane and everything to get here faster.
Yeah, 1 second, man. 1 second. I gotta go find this one. Oh man. Hey, wait a minute. He made the rat sound. Call him out. Call him out.
What?
Hey, hang on. I gotta find the right one. Anyways, I screwed it up the first time. We'll just leave it at that. Anyways, with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. And we're moving on. We're moving on.
Moving on.
Leaving behind.
Moving
Leaving
on.
behind. Up next, we have a
Roll 'em
$7
out.
super
Roll 'em
chat
out.
from JuneBuck72, who says, "There's so much going on. I'm grateful I have you and your brother and the LSA to help me keep up. Slava Ukraine and Hiram Slava."
And thank you so much for the support and helping us to keep this thing running. Because, of course, Junebug, throughout the entirety, Junebug72, of course, throughout the entirety of this war, we've always known that you are one of the old guard that we can count on to be here. And I've got to thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because without folks like you, it wouldn't have been possible for us to have been here and keep on covering the news the way we do. And so with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for support. And thank you so much for enjoying this and helping us to keep it running. And with that, we're going to be moving on to the next one. Also, Matthew Fuyuma said, you need a sound pad. Nah, I don't think we need a sound. Like, we'll just pull up stuff, because whenever a sound pad comes around, you start feeling like you're forced to do things like, wow, that seems kind of sus, boom, boom, or something like that, you know, and it gets kind of cringe. So with that, we're on to the next one.
Yeah, call them out. Call them out. As a soundboard, call them out. And it gets really lame. But anyways, up next we have a $10 super chat from Roy CC07, who says, "It's been a while." And yes, it has. It's good to see you again, Roy, and thank you for the support. He says, "Anyways, have you seen the Reuters article titled, 'Studying Ukraine War, China's Military Minds Fret Over U.S. Missiles Starlink'? Let me know what you think."
I haven't seen that one, Roy, but let me pull it up real quick. And while we pull it up, Matthew, I gotta address this one. Oh, dang it, Matthew, you got it. It's
Oh, same one.
Yeah, I was looking at it. I was like, dude, we literally said back then, I was like, well, I don't know a lot about diving. We're not really an authoritative source on that, so share something with us. You shouldn't be talking about it authoritatively. It's like, that's why we asked you people for help. It's like,
look, if you ever want to get into diving, you have to go through Chuck. Chuck is the gatekeeper of diving. Look, can I start diving? I don't know. You got to go ask Chuck.
Chuck says there, you should know more about your body before you go diving. Then you got to go become a doctor too. Oh man. Anyways, yeah. What did Roy want us to pull up again?
Roy wanted us to pull up an article from Reuters titled "Study." In fact, I'll put it in the chat so you can simply
also,
copy
Mandy.
and paste it.
Also, Mandy, do we have the one from Streb in the spreadsheet?
Streb, yes, we do.
Okay, just making sure. So let me close that one out. I had that one open just in case if anything had gone wrong. Studying Ukraine war. So let me grab. Oh, dang it, the chat moved, and then it moved the whole copy thing down one line. I don't know if you've ever had that as a problem. That is annoying.
Yeah, just scroll up to save it.
Let's see here. Let's see here.
Wow, that's a big weapon right there.
I think that's either a javelin missile. Yeah, it is a javelin missile.
It's a javelin.
It doesn't look like it has the CLU though. China needs the capability to shoot down low Earth orbit Starlink satellites and defend tanks and helicopters against shoulder-fire javelin missiles. According to Chinese military researchers who are studying Russia's struggles in Ukraine and planning for possible conflict with the U.S.-led forces in Asia. A Reuters review of almost 100 articles and more than 20 defense journals reveals an effort across China's military-industrial complex. Oh, buzzword. Military-industrial complex. I'm sure no one's heard that one for about the past 5 minutes. To scrutinize the impact of U.S. weapons and technology that could be deployed against China's forces in a war over Taiwan. Let's see, interest. So pretty much it's just saying the Chinese realize there's weaknesses that they would have to combat to be able to effectively combat the United States. Problem is that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of Starlink satellites, so it'd be very hard to shoot all of them down, or even a small amount of them. It would be very expensive to do. So there's really no way to effectively do that. Well, at least that I can think of. I'm sure someone will find a way. But, you know, I gotta say this, Matthew, in an effort... I cannot stand, and I can't stand things that are overused. I cannot stand this stupid phrase, the military-industrial complex. Why not just call it China's war industry or something like that? It gets the same point across.
It's real. It's real. Kaboom!
Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Something you never heard from again.
Dwight D. Eisenhower had a great farewell speech when he was leaving office, and for some reason, everyone in the United States, after he said military-industrial complex, said, "Oh, I gotta use that." They wrote it down on flashcards. They put it up in like shows. Like this is getting used a little bit too much. Just call it war industry. I would call it like that's what I call it. I don't call it the military-industrial complex. I call it the war industry because it's an industry pertaining to war. I don't know why the hell it's got to be the military-industrial.
They mean like the relationship between the military and private industry.
Yeah, but that's still the war industry. You know, like that still gets the same thing across. It's kind of like calling the Department of War the Department of Defense. You know, regardless whether you're defending or conducting an offensive, it's still a war. Why not just call it the Department of War? It is what it is.
Whenever I hear it, I just start buzzing. I just really start buzzing when I hear it. I'm like, wow, I should call this a buzzword.
Man, like you can always tell someone's trying a little too hard whenever that phrase comes up. In my opinion, you know, me personally, that's a try hard statement right there. Just call it the war industry or something. You know, not to sound like you're being a sweat. So with that. I hope that addresses that fairly well, Roy. Very interesting to hear that they're seeing clear shortcomings and they cannot combat the Starlink one. So with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. Very interesting article. Can't read it all here, but I will try and read more of it off stream. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support. And welcome back, Roy. It's been a while since you've been here, and I hope you've been enjoying tonight's stream as well. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again.
All right, and the next one goes to Ishtar Sarabe, who puts in the 7 and says, first-time donation from Australia, didn't have access previously, and did you see the Latvian MP have a go at Russia at the Security Council? It was hilarious.
Well, hello to a new supporter of the Lee Spring Army, already a Lee Spring Army soldier, from Australia. There's a lot of viewers that come from Australia here in the Lee Spring Army, and New Zealand as well. And it's really cool to hear that we've been joined once again by another Aussie. And so welcome, and thank you for the support. And to answer that question, yes, I did. That was actually a while ago. And I've got to say this. It's always weird to see people try and get heated in like these diplomatic sessions in any way, shape, or form, because like everyone in the room has like no soul. So, you know, when you could be like, screw you, man, and then everyone in the room just sits there and goes, oh, when's the break coming up? I just can't wait for the next break. And, like, nobody reacts to it, so it's always weird. But I did see it, and he did have some pretty good singers. So with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well, and I thank you so much once again for the support. And I feel so sorry for the people on those diplomatic teams, because it looks like they're most of the time just bored out of their minds, and it seems like a boring job in reality. But with that, we are on to the next one, and thank you once again.
All right, and up next, we have a $5 super chat from Dark Warrior 137, who puts it on 5, by the way, and says, first super chat of the night for the Bobcat skid steer's fun, and Igor.
And thank you so much for the support to the Bobcat skid steer fund. We will eventually get one of those things. How much do they cost? Bobcat skid steer?
I think 20 or 30K.
For sale. We want the used skid steers. It's been used. Golly, these things are expensive. Yeah, look at that.
Year.
A 2018 Caterpillar for $62,000.
It has 17. That's right, I forgot. They don't measure it in like miles or anything. It's in hours. So like how many hours the equipment's been on and used, I guess.
Dang. Man, some of these things have been used hard, dropped hard. Like these things are shredded a little. But still, thank you for the support. We're not exactly getting to the point of getting a Bobcat, but we're on the way. And so with that, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And we are on to the next one.
I think I'd prefer just to rent one than pay that much for one. I think you can just rent one for like, I think what, a couple $100 or something for a weekend. I don't know. It's been like, I don't know, 10 years since we've
How the
done
hell
that.
did they ever recoup the money they paid into those things off of rentals that cheap?
I guess they rent them out for years and years and years. It takes them a while to recoup the investment before they start turning a profit, I guess.
Yeah,
But-
maybe.
Or they could have financed it and just simply make the payments and keep the extra every month. I don't know. But I've never really thought about the rental industry like that. But interesting.
Well, with that, I guess we're on to the next one. Thank you once again for the support to the Bobcat Fund.
Yes, and we are on to the next one. And the next one goes to Michael, LTNV, who puts in a 5 and says, "Tag, you're it." Oh, we are.
Na, 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 you can't catch me. Ah! I scanned my name. But still, thank you for the support, and I hope that addresses that fairly well. And also, thank you for letting us be it. We're always it, at least to the folks who don't like it. They're always trying to get us, whether they be from wherever they're out there. But still, thank you for the support. I hope that addresses that fairly well. And we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Rubik Man, who puts in a 5 and says, "Hello, Enforcer and LSA."
Hello to you and the entire Lee Spring Army. And also, I'll throw in a hello to Enforcer Matt. Hello.
Yes, hello, Rubik Man. I noticed you left me out.
Oh, it's fine. But still, that's kind of ready.
I'm
For some
like
reason,
viciously searching for Rubik Man in the chat. Where's he at?
well, I did see Evan Word say,
That's
"I'll
okay,
use
by the
big
way.
letters if I wanna." And I don't know, man. I don't know. You're treading on thin ice, man. Be careful, man. It's about to whip out the 9. But still, anyways, thank you for the support, and also, I hope we address that fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you once again.
All right, and up next we have a $5 super chat from James Dunn, who says, "Yeah, that was some cool news on there about the pipeline and the F-16."
And I would say yes, there was some cool news on there about the pipeline and the F-16. I would agree. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And you know what we're about to be doing. We're on to the next one. And so with that, thank you once again.
And the next one goes to that guy. Yes, I'm that guy, pal. He puts in another 5 and says, "Barbecued orc, anyone?" Nah.
Yeah.
Too tough.
Yeah, I'll have some. It gets had. Wait. Oh, poor Evan. He got muted by the night, but I just had to go back and look at that. I was like, oh, he forgot. But anyways, I would have to say, in all honesty with you, could you reread the line?
What, barbecued orc?
Yeah, I want to hear it again.
That was it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, honestly, Matthew, I would have some.
What's orc again?
It's pulled orc. Like, we just had pulled orc tonight.
I don't know. I forgot what orc is.
Oh, okay. Well, with that, I thank you for the support.
Orc? Like with a C or with a K?
Like with a C.
I mean, no.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for the support. I hope that addresses that fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next. And with that being said, we're on to the next one. Also, Epic Trains Canada, he's got it down pat now. He said, I hope we addressed that fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one. And you're absolutely right. And that is the same outro I give because you've got to be consistent with the cues that we're moving on to the next one. Otherwise, Matthew doesn't pick up because he's got a lot going on over there. And there has to be a audible cue that we are moving on to the next one. But yeah, it's a joke. So with that, we're on to the next one.
And also, what's this Evan guy going on about?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think he wants to use big letters. and that's it. But I don't think he understands there's like a cap limit on the Nightbot, and if he puts too many, it will put him out. So you know, I don't know. But with that, we're on to the next
I
one.
can't tell. Anyways, up next we have a $5 super chat from Super Action General, who says, "How effective would a Moab be for the Ukrainians if they deployed it against the middle or rear defense lines of the Russian hordes? Game changer? Question mark."
Reread the line.
Super Action General says, "How effective would a Moab be for the Ukrainians if they deployed it against the middle or rear defense lines of the Russian hordes? Could it be a game changer?"
It may be a little bit of a game changer. I wouldn't say it's a big one, because while it's a big bomb, its destructive abilities are not that grand. It's not going to, like, they could drop one, sure, but it's not going to be changing the entire face of the battle. It will be pretty damaging, but it, in my opinion, wouldn't be anything that would completely devastate them in an area. So with that, I hope that answers that question fairly well, Super Action General. And also, thank you for the support. And also, thank you for the other thing. You know what I mean. But we're going to keep that hush-hush in between you and me. And so with that, thank you once again. And we're on to the next one. Also, you, me, and Matthew, because Matthew also knows about it. But with that, we're on to the next one.
Yes. But I'm a much better at keeping the classified information in Forza. He leaks it out like he just did. But anyways,
I didn't leak it out. I didn't leak out what it was. I just said what he did.
Well, I mean, I guess you could say, but protocols have been violated, and you must be admonished very viciously and rapidly. Use all the big words possible.
Yes.
But anyways, up next we have a $5 super chat once again from that guy. Yes, I am that guy, pal. And also, I've been adding that last part to his name, but it sounds pretty cool, so I'm sure he doesn't mind. He says the limiting factors are speed and altitude.
The limiting factors are, in fact, speed and altitude. I would agree with you. 1 second. Give me just a second. And let's see. I would have to agree with you, because NATO expansion is a miscalculation from Londongrad about Israel mediating, and Putin is quite irrational in the entire situation. So it's a hybrid war that is entirely genius, but at the same time de-escalating the entire conflict, because we had a very constructive discussion on America's faults. Those are all the key buzzwords, apparently, from Hertz.com about the Ukraine war. So I just went through and just connected them all together, because we're on buzzwords tonight, y'all. And let me throw in the military-industrial complex just one more time, sprinkling it in like that guy sprinkling salt on a steak to make sure we hit all of the buzzwords. But with that, thank you so much. Let's give it the support. I hope I addressed that fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you once again.
Honestly, I'm not gonna make that stupid joke. I'm just moving on. But anyways, up next we have a $5 super chat from Midget Hobbit, who says, "Thousands of soldiers dead. Their names won't be remembered in history, yet they're the ones sacrificing themselves. Only Zelensky and Putini. Sad."
That's true. And that's always how war is, because no one knows really who a lot of those 500,000 Americans were that died in the Second World War. No one really knows their names. We only know the names of Patton and Eisenhower, and Bradley and George C. Marshall, and Bernard Montgomery and Charles de Gaulle and Winston Churchill. And there's very few people who get remembered in history, and they're usually the ones at the very top, I guess you could say, in charge of things. So that's sadly the way it is, and sadly, none of those Russians, no matter how much they want to think that they're important and will be remembered for long, or at all for that matter, even now. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, and I thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Chester Meath, who puts in a 5. Who is Master Chief flipped around. But anyways, he says, "On the topic of food, when I wrote this, I spent most of the time listening to the stream while making Japanese-style sweet pork meatballs." I didn't even know the Japanese ate meatballs.
Pork meatballs. Dang. That looks like a Swedish meatball.
It does. I think they might have borrowed it from them.
Maybe. I've got to say, though.
Deep fried in Japan?
Deep fried? Oh, there's a lot of fried Japanese food. Fried Japanese food.
Oh, yeah, tempura. Yeah, that's nice. Hey, yeah.
Yum, 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 yum. Taste Atlas. 10 most popular Japanese deep fried dishes. If they're saying fried chicken is, I swear there will be a crime being committed. Cocky fry. Coming in here with that cocky fry cook, huh?
It's not rated very high. It's a 3.4 star.
Kushage? I don't know how that's pronounced. Main ingredients: beef or pork or chicken or horse meat.
Whoa.
What?
I like how they put the horse symbol right there, like we didn't know what that meant.
Dude, apparently Crystals is over there. Torikatsu. Katsudan. Ebi Farai. I know I'm butchering all these. I'm sorry, everyone. Tendon. That doesn't look like a tendon. That looks like a shrimp. Let's see. Koroke. Tempura. Pretty good stuff, actually. I've had tempura. Karage. And tonkatsu.
Oh, tonkatsu.
Tonkatsu. It's deep fried pork cutlets. Interesting.
That could be good.
Oh, it's apparently inspired by the, most likely by the British, because it's a Western-inspired dish from the mid-18th century. So it's probably like a Japanese, I don't know how to explain it, like a Japaneseified version of a country fried steak, is probably what it's more like. So that's probably really similar to an American or a British palate, for that matter. He was a bot the whole time.
Yeah, I figured he was, and then he finally put something in that gave me the green light. Take him out.
So with that, I hope we addressed that fairly well, and I thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Also, sumimasen to our Japanese viewers, because that was a horrendously bad Japanese accent or an attempted one. So, with that being said, we're moving on. The next one is from Streb. We've been waiting for this one all night, and we're finally here. Streb puts a 5 in and says, just take my money, in parentheses, again. I just came in, but I always watch everything when I have time. The day you are not live is so empty.
And I thank you so much for the support, Streb, and also enjoying this channel so much. It means a lot to me, Streb, that you would come in here and support us. It's always weird, though. I thank everyone for the support. It's always weird to hear when someone says, just take my money, because it makes it seem weird. But still, I do thank you for it and helping the channel to keep running. And also, I'm glad to know that you are still watching out there. Because we don't see you a lot in the live chat often. But it's good to know you're here tonight because you're saying, now I'm hungry. Damn, in the live chat right now. And I'm hungry, too. And so with that, hi, hungry, I'm dead. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one. But thank you so much for enjoying this channel and supporting us to help this thing to keep on running.
And the next one goes to Marcus, who puts in a 5 and says, do you think we can attribute the high losses of Russian AA and artillery to new weapons with better range finding their way to the battlefield?
It may be, but we have seen high numbers like that before just out of sheer luck. So it may just be that the Ukrainians had a lucky day, or it may be that they're getting better weapons. If it's better weaponry, if the numbers stay high forever, after they go high, they stay high. If it's just high every once in a while on the spike, that means that it was just a lucky day for the most part. So with that, I hope that does address that question fairly well, and I thank you so much once again for the support. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Maddie, who puts in a $2 donation and says, so glad Enforcer Matt got his Bobcat. He's cute. And thank you very much, Maddie. I do appreciate the kind words and the high praise there. And I'm glad I got a Bobcat as well. It was also very cute, I must say. But thank you very much for the support. And with that being said,
I'm not cute. I already know I look like an ogre.
Well.
Anyway, I'm telling you, I get no respect around here. My co-host gets super chats directed to him. What do I get? I get people saying, hey, bud, why don't you put the bag over your face again? Oh, man, I get no respect around here. Oh, man. Anyway, so that we're on to the next.
All right. And up next, we have a $5 super chat from TTCMZX, who says, well, actually, it's their first super chat according to YouTube. Maybe that's accurate, but thank you.
They've been here before. I don't know if they've super chatted before or not, but I've seen their name a lot in the live chat.
Yeah, I could have sworn they put in a super chat before, but YouTube says not. So who are we to go against YouTube's philosophies? TTCMZX says, please don't be lawyers. Your personalities are timeless. And take a question from the chat.
Hey, and I thank you so much for the support, TTC MZX. Of course, it means a lot to us that you enjoy our personalities. You know what I mean? But, you know, I would like to become an attorney. Because, you know, it would be nice, you know, and it helped me to become the president, you know what I mean? But still, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. But I hope that people look at me when I start running for president, and whenever they look back at this YouTube channel, because I know it will happen in the future, and someone will be trying to get us for something on the political campaign trail. But moving on from that, I hope people look back and they go, hey, that guy's a silly guy, a little funny guy, but he's pretty smart too. So I hope that answers that fairly well. Thank you so much once again for the support, and we're on to the next one.
All right, and up next we have a super chat from Bob Anon, who puts in a 5 and says, great work, guys. Slav Ukraine, and thank you for that comment. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Hey, and I thank you so much for the support.
He took your line.
Yeah, he took it. I thank you so much for the support, Bob. And of course, you're helping this channel to keep on running. So great work, guys. Slava Ukraini, and thank you for the comment. And with that, we're on to the next one. You know what I mean? But thank you once again.
All right, and the next one goes to Rob Bertram, who puts in a 2 and says, Enforcer, my deepest dive on air is 204 feet.
204 feet? What are you, Superman? I'm just kidding. Yeah, thank you for the support. And that's actually really cool to hear. 200 feet underwater. Is there even light at 200 feet underwater? I have a feeling that it's probably very, very dark at 200 feet below sea level. Let's see. Is there light?
Actually, there's light, I think, at 200 feet.
Underwater at 200 feet. I have a feeling it's very dim. Minimal light penetrating between... Oh, wow, that's 656 feet below water. Well, you had to be pretty deep down there to not see light. But still, thank you once again for support. Really cool to hear. And with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support.
All right, and up next, we have a $2 super chat from Dot Tour. She says, don't forget about China versus India. What about Tibet?
China versus India. And what about Tibet? Well, Tibet's a thing. I still get a laugh out of people seriously thinking that there were suicide helmets being used in China because some guy on YouTube just said, there are suicide helmets, and then gave no proof, and then everyone just ran with it. You know, like, a lot of people say a lot of things happen in China. It's not that bad in China. You know, they set up trampolines right off the balconies of most apartment buildings because sometimes the workers just get back from work. They go, hey, I had a great day. Let me go jump on the trampoline. But anyways, you're right. I guess you could say Central Asia in a way is a pretty contested place. Pakistan hates India. India and Pakistan hate China. China hates Pakistan. Pakistan is destabilizing just about everyone else by funding terrorists. So yeah, I mean, it's a place. So with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address the question fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one. You know what I mean?
All right, and up next, also David Harris said, I hope you asked Chuck. Oh, let's see. Rob, did you ask Chuck? Because if you didn't, you're in some hot water.
Yeah,
that ocean water just got real hot.
Hey, watch it, man. Watch it. Chuck is a master here. You sit there and go, wow, I think diving's pretty cool. No, it's not. It's not for idiots like you. Get out of here. That's Chuck. Oh, we love Chuck, don't we? He'll sit there and tell us we're wrong, but he won't tell us how we're wrong. And that's where we draw the line right there. We could be wrong all day if people explain how we're wrong. But if you just come in here and say we're wrong or we're idiots or something, and you don't tell us how, buddy, you can hit the door. Because I might not get any respect around here, but if you're going to give me no respect, you got to tell me why. Oh, man. And people thought they were getting away with me. Oh, man. I was the one pulling the fast one. Anyways, there. On to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Midget Hamid once again, who puts in a 2 and says, do you think the U.S. is creating 40,000 Space Marines right now?
Oh, 40,000 Space Marines. Oh, man. Let me tell you something. Oh, the last time I saw a Space Marine, oh, buddy, he was going into my wife's bedroom. Oh, man. Wait, I forgot. We can't do jokes like that. It's got to be PG. But I was about to start going well into that. But anyways, I don't know. Space Marines are kind of tough to make in the 40K universe. And they're very few and far in between. But maybe. I mean, we got a big enough budget. So with that, I thank you for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And we are on to the next one. I don't know, Cife. I don't know if Chuck is still here or not.
He actually is still here. I just checked.
Oh, that's all right. And with
He's
that,
not banned. He's being quiet.
well, I mean, you know, when you are the gatekeeper of scuba diving, you've got to keep your words concise and short. Unlike me, I just ramble for 3.5 hours. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have another super chat from Midget Hobbit who puts in a 2 and says, Ja Morant, DJ Khaled, or Putin in a kissing match.
I don't
DJ Khaled.
Another one.
Yeah,
Suffering
just over everything. Just interrupt every word you say with DJ Khaled.
Dude, that's like that Yo Mama channel yelling Xbox Live or the Super Bowl. You know, it's like that guy. But anyways,
Yeah, how to ruin a song in like 2 seconds. Yell DJ Khaled.
man, why in the world does DJ Khaled look like the shwibbity boop shwibbity bop guy? You know what I'm talking about?
I know, not really.
Oh man, let me pull that guy up. I gotta show everyone because y'all gotta get in versed here on shwibbity boop shwibbity bop. Let me see. Shwibbity boop. Let me just type that in, see if I can find it real quick.
And Misk, I said kissing, not the other thing.
I think this is the guy. What is he here? Oh, let me unmute this real quick and let me see. Okay, I think I can show a few seconds of this. I don't know what the hell this video is, but here. I don't know what the hell that is. That's the Shwibbity Bop guy. That's all I know him as. But anyways, can you read the line again? that was frightening. It burned my eye sockets out. But can you read it one more time?
The line said, Ja Morant, DJ Khaled, or Putin in a kissing match.
Okay, so that's what I was saying. Why in the world does DJ Khaled look like the Shwibbity Bop guy?
Another one.
Yeah, he's at just shibbity bop, shibbity boop, shibbity bee. Anyways, I
the best.
I don't know how to answer that question, but I will tell you, DJ Khaled is a lot like Shwibbity Bop. And so with that, we're on to the next one. Thank you once again for support. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a $2 super chat from Dubsy Dapster, who says, I pull up.
I pull up, and then the song just stops. But
And
still,
the capybara comes around.
oh yeah, the little capybara. Those
Pull that up. Pull it up.
Pull it up, Jamie. Pull up the video. You got that, Jamie? Yeah, dude. You know, like people evolved from stone apes, man. Pull that video up, Jimmy. Pull that video up because for some reason they were recording that. Let's see. So, what do I need to be pulling up?
Capybara pulls up. Oh, that's right. I don't know if the music is copyrighted though. I forgot.
Oh, hang on. I got this.
It probably is.
Let me see if this is. Oh, dude, they copyrighted this thing. It only has probably like a couple of seconds. Let me show another one. Let me see another one at least. Oh, dude, they're all copyrighted. Yeah, we can't play it because it goes, I pull up, and then the YouTube's gonna be like, all right, copyright. They throw out
That
the
would
yellow
be
flag,
it.
penalty 5 yards. So sadly, we
I
can't.
was about to tell you to pull up the DJ Khaled, like, you know, the yell he does at the songs, but I think that might be copyrighted too.
Dude,
Actually, that little part about him yelling.
We nearly got copyright strikes for showing 6 seconds of SNL. Like, I'm not playing any chances with the big labels because apparently they have like an iron fist on YouTube. So sadly, we can't pull that video up, Jamie. But still, I pull up capybara. So thank you once again for the support, and we're on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $2 super chat from Philip Fixes, who says, put cinnamon in your raw burger meat. It's amazing. Lowry's garlic salt, Weber steak and chop, Weber Montana steak seasoning, and cinnamon make for amazing burger. Please expand my super chat with this. And yes, I did, Philip, and thank you very much for the support. And that's a good suggestion. And I will get some of that Lowry and Weber.
And I gotta thank you for the support and telling us how to make a proper hamburger. But as you know, proper Alabamians, we don't eat hamburgers. We eat catfish. And we eat chicken and dumplings. And we eat pizza. but we don't eat that. I'm just kidding. We eat hamburgers a lot. So with that, we'll make sure to work that into the next time we make a hamburger. And thank you once again for the cooking suggestion. And with that, we're on to the next one. Honestly, Matthew, people are so into cooking and food. I feel like making a food and cooking channel would probably be fairly popular. You know, like reviewing pizzas in the middle of a city.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were about to say, James May's cooking show that kind of flopped a little bit.
Well, I mean, yeah, don't do it like James May, because he just sit there and slam a block of cheese onto a cabinet and go, cheese, and that was like the show.
I thought it was good, though. I had it on the background like while I was working on college for like months.
Yeah, but I'm talking about something like our style. You know, we would do our own style. You know, we wouldn't copy anyone. But I would love, Matthew, to go around from pizza restaurant to pizza restaurant, trying them out, you know, in the middle of a big city right in front of the store. You know, probably have people carjacking stuff in the background, maybe a robbery on the bank on the other side of the street. I feel like that would be fun. But who knows? But with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and we are through with the super chats for now.
What?
So thank you all once again for that support. It's now time to move on to our live chat questions. And up first, it wouldn't be the live chat segment without the Morse code. JP's RCs, Rumpelstiltskin, Mark Hodges, Cife, and Cliff Simonson solved it tonight. And Cife is leading the charge and says the Morse code says Russians take one city block, casualties over 1,000 dead.
Y'all are correct. The money's pouring out of the machine. I got to thank y'all for deciphering that every night. I don't know how y'all do it. I don't know how y'all are still doing it, because, you see, this was supposed to end on February 24th, and just come back. It came back and it never stopped. But I congratulate y'all on deciphering that Morse code message, because y'all are doing an incredible job, because that was the exact message, and the message rings true. And so with that, thank y'all for doing that again, and we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Delta Golf, who says, what happened to the Bayraktar? Any news of the famous drone?
They are state classified now. They're government secrets of Ukraine, and so while they're working, it's very rare for us to get video footage of them at work. And whenever we do, it's in massive quantities. Like usually like a 5-minute long video showing hundreds of strikes. So that's what's happened to them, is that they become classified, and so the Ukrainians control a lot of the video information that comes out from them. And so with that, we're on to the next one. And for Yuma said, don't send homemade food to Enforcer's Postbox. Texas already sinks. I would say don't really send any consumables to us, because we don't know if anything's been done to them, you know? Like with snacks or anything. Because if you send us a snack, we're probably not going to eat it, because we don't know if it's been opened and then poison put into them and then resealed. So it's really dangerous for us to, you know, chance eating that. Otherwise, we may not ever be able to run a stream again. So yeah, so I would agree with you right there. So with that, we're on to the next one.
And up next, we have another super chat from Midget Hobbit, who puts in a $2 donation and says, please send Big ED to the front line. We don't need him.
Who's Big ED?
I guess it is Big Ed. I didn't know if it was Ed or ED.
Big ED. I feel like I might have been had right there. Dagnabbit. Oh, wait, hang on. That's it. Oh, wait a minute. It's this guy. The guy with no neck.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, this guy.
That guy's on that TV channel that whatever that one is, they show all that stuff.
I don't know what the hell you mean by that.
I don't know either.
Just
move on.
Dude, why in the world did I sound like Frank Costanza? I said, what the hell is even that? Like, wait, no, that was that guy who sat there, Daddy, chill. What the hell is even that? Remember that, man?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That guy looks like he's had it.
Why in the world does he look like Dog Whisperer right here? Like what?
Who's Dog Whisperer?
You know, that guy, the Dog Whisperer.
You mean Cesar Chavez?
Yeah, he looks like Cesar Millan
or Milan.
Yeah, look.
Cesar Milan.
See that right there? Boom,
Chavez.
boom. Look at that. He looks like a very down.
That might be a stretch.
Maybe a little bit of a stretch, but hey, you know what I mean. Anyways, we're on to the next one. You know what I mean? Hopefully, it just that fairly well. Thank you once again for the support.
And up next, we have a question from Evan Knox, who says, can we address more about NATO and the UN in regards to any news on when Sweden and Finland are going to be accepted? I haven't heard much in the news.
You haven't heard much because it appears to have stalled. And while they're saying the Finns can join, the Finns are saying they're not joining without the Swedes, and the Swedes still have a problem with the Turks because the Turks don't like that they allow people to say stuff up there that they don't like. So right now it's still in the same condition it was last year. Thank you, Turkey. Thank you. You know, if Turkey was the way it was in, like, say, the 80s, it wouldn't have even been an issue. Sweden and Finland would have been in NATO by now, but Turkey's been having some cultural shifts, and it's causing some issues. But with that, I hope we address that fairly well, at least in the shortest terms possible. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and up next we have a question.
Angry Penguin said he looks like he could get fit in a smoothbore and get shot at 2,600 feet per second. Dang, you murdered that man, literally and figuratively. But anyways, with that, we're on to the next one.
And up next, we have a question from James Lynn, who says, Enforcer, there are major protests going on in Georgia right now. What's going on?
So I don't really know the exact situation of what's going on down there. Apparently there was some kind of law being passed in Georgia that has brought people out to the streets. I don't know if it's in support of Russia or against Russia. I'm not really sure, but there is a huge thing going on down there because of something in the government pertaining to Russians. But I haven't been able to look at that a lot because the Frontline news is what I focus on. So with that, I hope that addresses that at least the best I know. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Fuyuma, who says, would 50 cal rat shot ammunition be useful against drones?
Good God, 50 cal rat shot? Dang, I never heard of that before.
Yeah, that'd be a good shot.
Let's see.
Rat shot. It's blue tip.
This guy better not be serious right here.
No, that's insane. Who's doing that? What YouTube channel is that? Okay. This isn't Hickok 45.
This is
Edwin Sarkisian.
I've never heard of this guy. He's got 4.5 million subs.
Yeah, I can't believe I've never come across him. Wait a minute, is this for real?
I think it is. I think that's legit.
No.
No way.
No. No, there's no way. No, that's fake. That's got to be fake.
Hang on. I don't know. That kick is unbelievable, though. I mean, like, that kick was crazy. Let's go down here and see. It's a half miracle that no one has been seriously injured or killed on this channel.
3.6 thousand likes on that one.
Imagine giving your grandson a 100-year-old historical weapon used in a war, museum quality, with the intentions of him doing some good with it, and he films a YouTube video attempting to destroy it. We're gonna load this antique World War I shotgun with 50 BMG and see what happens. Gun Jesus, I feel a great disturbance in the force. Oh man, it doesn't seem like a lot.
Said, not sure if anyone commented this, but this is actually pretty dangerous. Yeah, has he not seen Kentucky Ballistics video of what happened? Dude, he wouldn't be doing this.
Kentucky Ballistics almost turned into a ballistics dummy that day. Like he was close to having it. Like, and he's lucky he didn't. But moving on from that, oh my God, that is the rat. That is the giant rat that makes all the rules right there. Holy moly, man!
Kentucky Ballistics tweeted that out. What was the context?
I don't know. Let's go to Twitter. Oh wait a minute.
Oh,
totally different picture. Oh well, dude, I seriously thought, oh my God, that's a giant rat, man. That is a huge rat. Is that? Oh no, that's a deer. I thought that was a rat. I was probably like, oh my God, it's a deer-sized rat. But well, I guess they kind of would look like that, wouldn't they? Let's see here. Ask for 50 cal rat shot. Hey, look, it's a rat using
what?
So if
people were saying that people were saying Kentucky Ballistics did a 50 BMG rat shot video today.
Really?
I can't believe he did that after the incident he had, a while back.
I can't believe he still shoots like those experimental military rounds. Let's check that out. Kentucky.
Isn't that kind of like tempting fate a little bit?
Ah, it's up to him. You know what I mean? Watch it be so that he watches the channel. Watch him hop into the chat in a minute. Like at this point,
I'm just concerned for the guy's safety. I like his videos.
Yeah, I like this guy. Like, he's like him and Hickok 45 are two of the gun channels I really enjoy. So let's watch, not the whole video, of course, but let's just get to the point where he blasts it and see what happens. So he's got a rat. That's not the giant rat. You know, his neck really healed up well. You can't really tell that he got hit by anything.
He's literally wearing a shirt that says "just put a thumb in it," like relating to the incident.
Man, that's a way to plug the merch, if you know what I mean.
I would say.
I guess you didn't get the pun, but you know, plug, you know, like you put the thumb in the hole, you know, you plugged it. That's a way to plug the merch.
Oh.
Oh yeah, really smart though. I mean, like a really, really good move. But let's see here. Where's the
Also, we're running late.
Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, I'm sure you're all right with it. Oh my god, wait a minute, hang on. Whoa, wait a minute. So he shoots the thing. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, he's smart. He's not close to that thing. Do you notice that? He's literally got a drawstring on it like it's a cannon. So let's see what happens. So what does the rat shot do? Well, it looks like he must have done something. Oh my god! Holy... Oh, man. I don't know if it will work at range, but that thing ripped that guy apart. So, you know, I would say so. Maybe. So with that, we are on to the last two questions of the night. And so, what is the second to last question of the night?
All right, and this question goes to Woody Stems, who says, why can't Ukraine take out Russian artillery around Bakhmut?
Why can't Ukraine take out... Well, they have been. It's just that there's so much of it that it's fairly difficult to take out all of it or a large amount of it in a single day where it becomes inoperable. And also, from what we understand, the Russian artillery is firing less than it normally is, which means that it's harder to track down where they are, because usually they're tracked down by a counter-battery radar, which picks up, I believe it's disturbances in the air caused by explosions from artillery and other similar things. And of course, take that with a grain of salt, because I don't really know exactly how counter battery radars work. But yeah, that may be the two reasons why. And so with that, I hope that answers that question fairly well. And we're on to the final question of the night. And so, who's the lucky last person who asks the lucky last question of the night?
All right, and that viewer is Raj Kapoor, who says, how much of an advantage does a T-90M tank actually give as compared to a T-62M?
The T-90M, T-62M, and then the T-90M. They always put M designations on anything that's been improved. So here's the T-90M, here's the T-62M. So the T-62M has some inherent weaknesses, because while the T-62M has a little composite armor frontal slope, it doesn't have a lower slope that's composite. As far as I understand it, neither does the T-90, but it's a much smaller, lower glacis than the T-62. This one's also a lot weaker, from what we understand, than the Contact 5, or whatever the relic it may be that's used on the T-90M. The T-90M also has a fully armored turret, and it also has some improved sights compared to the T-62M as well. It also has a slightly better gun. So there are some advantages to the T-90M, mostly in terms of armor protection, but that armor protection is superficial because Ukrainian anti-tank weapons can punch through either of them at the exact same ability. So it doesn't really matter much in terms of what's actually going on the front lines, because the T-62Ms get destroyed as easily as the T-90Ms whenever they find them. And so with that, I hope that does address that question fairly well, and it is the end of the tonight's stream. I thank you all so much once again for watching. An entire 3,606 of y'all are still watching the stream when we're rounding it out 3 hours and 30 minutes later. I've got to say, it's been an absolute pleasure running this stream, and I hope you all enjoyed it a great deal. If you did, make sure to subscribe, make sure to hit that like button, and also make sure to comment, because it helps us out in the algorithms. And you know what that means. It means the Lee Spring Army is going to grow. And so, with that, thank you all so much once again for watching. Good night, take care, stay safe, and of course, Slava Ukraini. And I'll see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time for the next 24 hours of the war in Ukraine.
And Slava Ukraine. We the best!
DJ Khaled!
This.
The Leaf Street Army sends its regards.
Ще не вмерла України ні слава, ні воля. Ще нам, браття українці, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці. Запануємо ми, браття, у своїй сторонці. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу.